Good afternoon. This is the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting, November 10th, 2021. The time is 6:09 p.m. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Here.
Commissioner Botel?
Here.
He's joining us virtually. Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Co-Chair Miller Anderson?
Present.
Chair Lanier?
Here.
Also in attendance, Mayor Felder, CRA Executive Director Jonathan Evans, Attorney Chris Smith, Attorney Opal McKinney-Williams, Director of Neighborhood Services Anita Jenkins, Director of Planning and Development Scott Evans, and CRA Clerk Maylee De Jesus.
Thank you. We will have the moment of silence led by the Pledge of Allegiance by our mayor. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions for the agenda this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair. Staff is asking that item 8 be removed to discussion and deliberations as item 7.
Number 7 and number 8 will be moved to discussion?
Discussion and deliberation. Just item 8.
Oh, just 8.
Yes. To be taken as item 7. Or renumbered.
Given the items that are listed on the agenda this evening, are there any disclosures by commissioner staff in regards to these items?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I did speak.
Even
Go ahead.
though we're not passing any legislation or voting on anything tonight, I just want to disclose that I had meetings with developments,
I can't
individuals from the development organization of
You have to speak into your mic. We can't hear you.
Is the mic off? Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I just want to disclose that I've had meetings with members from Nautilus Project, even though we're not going to be voting on anything tonight. I just want to put it on the record.
Madam
Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I've had several meetings with the developers from Nautilus going back many months.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I've also had met with the, and what is that beeping? Can you all turn your phones off, or is that someone's phone? I did meet with the Nautilus organization as well, and I think I had a conversation with those from Foundcare also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead,
I've
sir.
also met with Nautilus and Foundcare.
Okay. I had a meeting with the individuals from Foundcare and a conversation with the individual from the Blue Lagoon Plaza Development Project. There are not any other disclosures. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Co-Chair Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier? Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Do we have any comments for our consent agenda?
There are no public comments for the consent agenda.
All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and before I go and read this statement, are there any items that the council would like to review on the consent agenda? I'd like to pull the invoices, the monthly vendor invoice for.
When can we talk? You already started 10 minutes late. When can we talk? I don't want to hear about all this. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's go.
we have,
I got places to feed. And
We-
I'm planning on this.
we need to have the monthly vendor invoices from the consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a councilperson so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item number 1.
You want to read it?
You can go ahead and read that? Oh, yeah. For the item, that was pulled, which is the monthly invoices, we usually ask Mr. Evans to review the invoices or review anything that's been pulled from the consent agenda. So just go ahead and read the title.
Request for the approval of vendor invoices.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the items before you this evening, staff is recommending approval of the 2 vendor invoices that are listed on the agenda, and staff can answer any questions the board may have as a result of the invoices.
I just wanted to ask about the invoices from the Pittman Group. Looking at the amounts and also looking at the description, I think the items need to be more descriptive. When it talks about there's some that say legal meeting. I don't know what the legal meeting is for. There's some that say board meeting, but I don't know what the context of it is. So if they can be more specific on the items that are listed in regards to whom they're speaking with, some more description of what it's about.
Madam Chair, we can provide some detail as it relates to whom the meetings are, but those legal meetings are reoccurring weekly meetings that CRA staff has with legal concerning pending agenda items, property acquisition, a myriad of different things. So the topics may change. So we do have a standing meeting, but we can also, put in the description who those meetings were with, if that's the board's pleasure.
Yes, I would just like to see a little bit more detail with the items. Are there any other questions in regard to the monthly vendor invoices? Can we get a motion to approve them?
Move to approve. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry, are we looking at the same invoices? Because I actually opened it up and it seems pretty itemized to me. And it even goes detailed down to, for instance, 8/3/2021, O. Williams virtual conference with clients and C. Smith board meeting debrief. Is that not what you see?
No, I was seeing the other one. The other one that's listed, there's not enough detail.
On the payment requisition form, or actually the itemized invoice, which I think starts on page 4, is pretty itemized.
Yeah, I just want some more information about the meetings.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Very good.
Sorry about that.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner McCoy?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Co-Chair Miller Anderson? Chair Lanier?
I know you're getting tripped up over there, and when you get tripped up, I'm getting tripped up. Just say Miller Anderson, and that's good. I know there's a lot to say. Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next item, which is number 4. Please read that, Madam Clerk.
Foundcare Health, proposed development, 3501 Broadway.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, the item before you this evening is to talk with the board about the possible development of a clinic in the city of Riviera Beach. We've had conversations with Foundcare for some time now, and this is the culmination of a lot of work that has happened on the staff level to bring this item to a point where we would like to get input and feedback on the possibility of the partnership. You'll hear from representatives from Foundcare as it relates to their desire to locate a facility here in our community and how quickly they would like to move forward. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the representatives from Foundcare that will provide a presentation to the board, and then staff will be prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you. I'm excited to present to you all and allowing us an opportunity to present to you all, commissioners, and staff has been wonderful and listening to what we have done in the county and wanting to partner with us, and of course the community ultimately will reap the rewards. So my name is Yolette Bonnet, and I am the current CEO of Foundcare. And even though I'm a retiring CEO by January next year, my incoming replacement, as he says, he's not replacing me, but is Christopher, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Chris Irizarry. I'm the incoming Chief Executive Officer at Foundcare. Thank you all very much for having us here this evening.
So I wanted to give the community a history, and of course to you all, the history of Foundcare, how we became about. And most people know us in our previous name. We were called the Comprehensive AIDS Program of Palm Beach County. If you could move it to the next slide for me. Okay, so it's a long history. I'll just highlight some of the items. The organization started in 1985 as the Comprehensive AIDS Program of Palm Beach County because we were watching people die of HIV, a group of concerned citizens, where they wouldn't even take care of patients in terms of the funeral homes. And so the organization was formed just to give people an opportunity to die with some dignity. And in 2002, we realized that we needed to do more than just provide case management and some support services to people living with HIV. So they commissioned a study that showed that at the time, 250,000 individuals in the county did not have access to primary health care. So thus the idea came up with Foundcare so that we can then create a one-stop shop to serve people. In 2009, we began providing the services, and in 2010, we became a lookalike, federally qualified lookalike. And what that means, without boring you, is that we did not have funding at the time, so we had to look like FQHCs, which is federally qualified health centers, and we ran the Comprehensive AIDS Program, which is CAP, and Foundcare together. So in 2013, we merged the organization together, and at the same time, the federal government recognized us as a full federally qualified health center. Then once we opened our first site, which was in Palm Springs, it's a 30,000 square foot building. We then opened another site in North Palm Beach, a little further north than where you guys are. And so then we became Federal Tort Claims Act, where our providers, our doctors and nurses and everybody that works for Foundcare becomes federal employees. So regardless if we work within our scope of service, we are now federal employees, so we don't have to pay malpractice. Then 2018, we have the pediatric site right on the campus of St. Mary's. We added another site. And then we added women's health, because every time we add a service, we realize access to these services were not being coordinated. So we then added a site that would then just do mammography and women's health. And then behavioral health, as you know, after COVID 2021, we realized that we had more and more people seeking our services, so we added that. So, and now, we are about to open the Okeechobee sites. These are our sites where we're currently located, North Palm Beach. We have two sites, Okeechobee. Behavioral health is also on 45th Street, Palm Springs, Boynton Beach, and Belglade. So type of services we provide: adult primary care, pediatric, chronic disease management, such as infectious disease, HIV, and some others, behavioral health, women's health, adult and pediatric dentistry. We also have a dental component to it. An on-site pharmacy, infectious disease, of course, that's part of our work, HIV and hepatitis C. Labs, because we have to do the labs, and social services. Of course, we all believe in the social determinants of health, because if someone doesn't have a place to live, they really cannot see a doctor, right? And we also do x-rays. Our hours of operation is basically 6 days a week in certain sites, not all of them, and we're open from 8 to 8 on certain days, and also on Saturday, increasing access. Last year, we served over 24,758 unduplicated patients, and for a total of 156,000 visits. And this is the breakdown of how the patient population is, so we don't have to go through a lot of that. And during COVID, we always believe in being how do we respond and provide access to our patients? In 2000, when everyone was shut down, the whole country was shut down, including ourselves, Foundcare never shut down. We were the first to do a drive-through testing in the community prior to everything else. We didn't realize we were going to be the first in the whole state of Florida, so we had every telecaster or television folks in front of our building that day, and I ended up in CNN, and several of my staff was all over the place. We were in our front page of the Wall Street Journal, and so on and so forth. So these are just to show you how the growth has happened. And we also did partner with the city of Riviera Beach, and several, after the county had secured some sites for us for testing, so we pivoted and went into providing services in the local community, grassroots, where folks would not have access to the larger sites. So in 2015, we served about only 8,000, almost 9,000 individual patients. To 2020, we were over 24,000, just to show you how we actually are growing as quickly as the need to meet the needs. We take all insurances, but we also see patients regardless of their ability to pay. And so that's the part that we're in FQHC. We never turn anybody away. But however, to make it work, we have to have some payer sources, and these are what we really. And the majority of our patients are people of underserved communities, minority communities that we serve. That's the largest, but we serve everyone. We also have transportation because, again, access, to have access, then you have success, right? So we make sure that if the patients cannot get to us, we have a way of at least facilitating that. And we believe in quality. And then I'll let Chris do some of the presentation.
Sure. Again, as Ms. Bonet stated, we believe in quality. One of the most important things or pivotal things about our organization is that we're consistently monitored by the federal government to make sure that we're providing quality care to all of our patients. So regardless of whether you have insurance or not, or the ability to pay or not, the level of care that you receive is of the highest quality, and it's integrated care. As she stated, you have all the services under one roof for the patients. In terms of our financials, the fiscal stability of an organization, particularly that of a nonprofit, is critical. And so you can see how Ms. Bonet has managed the organization over the course of the years to a place of fiscal stability. That's critical. You can't be successful if you're not fiscally stable, and all of us know that's just the reality of managing a business. So we've seen really steady growth, and we're looking at surpassing $40 million in terms of our budget in the coming year. One of the important things is that we get people out of the emergency room or avoid them going to the emergency room. And you can see from the ER diversion information that we have up there, the cost of going to an average emergency room visit compared to coming to Foundcare for a primary care visit. So our goal is to keep people healthy, to be proactive and make sure that they don't end up in the emergency room, and that we keep them healthy and out of the ER. What we try to do is get people to take their healthcare serious and not be reactive about it, but proactive about it. And you can see here from the Florida Association of Community Health Centers that every dollar invested, you return 171% of that dollar to the community. The reality is that when we open one of our health centers, we start to generate business. Folks go to the local restaurants to eat. People use the services at Foundcare. Our staff goes out to eat in the local restaurants, and we buy from local businesses. So it's really important to understand that there's an impact, and the impact of Foundcare in Palm Beach County is $49.4 million in 2020. We also are involved in community service. We obviously have to be involved with the communities that we serve, and we become the fabric, part of the fabric of the community. And we believe in this, in the buildings that we put up, and what we invest and what we build. It's not just putting up a health center. It's putting up a place where people want to come to, not a place that people have to come to. So as you can see here in our Palm Springs location, this is what it looked like when we first purchased it, and this is what it looks like now. We invest in beautifying the building because we want our patients to feel the way anybody with health insurance would feel coming to the building. We pride ourselves in this. We pride ourselves in the fact that if you come to one of our community health centers, you feel like people care about you and respect who you are and where you're from. This is the building we purchased in Okeechobee. It was an old bank building off Okeechobee Boulevard and the Turnpike. And this is some of the renovations we had to do, which were very involved. And, you know, Yolette's vision was, I want to make this a wonderful building, again, just like what we do. And so we had an atrium built, and this is what the building looks like today. We anticipate opening this December 6th. And again, it's a place that we want our patients to come to and feel proud that this is their community health center. So this is what we were able to do in Okeechobee. And now, talking about Riviera Beach, which is the reason we're here, and working with your administration, who's been very, very accommodating. You know, there was a plan and a site plan for this site at 3501 that had been proposed a while ago, and we fell in love with the building and what it looked like and the curb appeal. We want Foundcare to be the catalyst in this area. We want Foundcare. We are ready to go and would love to build a community health center in the community to service your residents. And this is, you know, whether it's this, but we really love this concept. We understand it's a concept, but we loved it and we would love to be part of this community.
And one of the things that I would like to add is that we do have, it's going to be a true partnership in terms of government, foundation, non-for-profit, and also some businesses. And so that's the beauty of this project, I think, that everybody's participating and looking for you know, making this community better in terms of providing access to primary care.
So if you look at, according to our UDS mapper, which is what the federal government uses in order to identify access to care or lack thereof, these are the area codes that we're targeting, and 36,143 folks living in this area were considered low income, of which only 9,900 had access to a health center. Foundcare right now is managing about 33% of those 9,900 patients already at our other sites. But when you start to take into consideration the transportation, the barriers to care, we want to obliterate the barriers to care. We don't want to reduce them. We don't want to lower them. We want to obliterate them. That's why we are proposing to bring a health center into Riviera Beach, because we don't want to talk the talk. We want to walk along with you. So when you look at Foundcare, we anticipate managing about 15,000 unique patients within 3 years of operating the site that we're proposing. And as you can see, this is the breakdown of the zip codes that we're currently servicing from those 9,000 patients that are currently receiving services at Foundcare. So what are the opportunities in the next steps? We've worked with your administration and have identified a particular parcel of land that we would love as the potential site for this new health center. We're proposing a 20,000 square foot building, 15,000 which would be dedicated to the health center, 5,000 which would be used for a small business incubation program or any other use that the city deems important that is congruent or complements the community health center. But our objective is, again, to serve the patients Our goal is to provide a permanent health center to the residents of Riviera Beach within the community. And in terms of our investment, what is Foundcare putting into this? So we are seeking and are working with community partners to pay for the $11.4 million that it'll take estimated to build this. And we are also committing to put by seeking further funds for this project. The operational investment that Foundcare will be making on this shouldn't go unnoticed. We're putting $3.14 million a year in perpetuity, which will obviously increase over time, into the operations of this health center. So Foundcare is committed to making this work. And the benefits to the community, it goes without saying, you're going to have a federally qualified health center in Riviera Beach. That means that folks in your community will have access to high-quality health care, preventative health care, to improve the health outcomes and deal with so much of what we've seen during the pandemic of health inequities. New health center will create 35 full-time positions. It's a potential medical teaching site. We also have, obviously your employees, your staff will have access to the community health center. And again, we want to reduce or eliminate racial health disparities. And the services that we're proposing to provide there will be women's health, pharmacy, pediatric, licensed clinical social worker or behavioral health services, and dental services as well. The mere fact that we'll be able to provide women's health services within Riviera Beach and have better outcomes for women that are delivering babies in communities such as Riviera Beach is critical. So we thank you for your attention and are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks again.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the presentation. We are looking for these type of products in our city. This is more so a question for staff. I know that you've been meeting with this organization for a while. This parcel of land, is this particular venture the highest and best use for that piece of land? With some of the projects that we're looking at, the master development that we want to have on Broadway, and what they're trying to bring versus what we want to develop on Broadway?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
With respect to the highest and best use, because of the lack of access and some of the challenges in communities such as ours and that gap, when we had conversations with Foundcare, we toured probably about 5 or 6 different locations before we landed on this particular site. And based on my conversations with them, the need was so profound in our community and the gap was so large that it's staff's opinion that the services that would be provided at that facility would contemplate the highest and best use and fill the need that the community has, versus a situation that if we had condos or a commercial space. This, we believe that with the foot traffic, with the opportunity to have the incubator space, with the opportunity to have an employee health clinic to be able to do our employee screenings as we go through the onboarding process, and then ultimately try to assist us in the screening process that we have to do contractually with our firefighters. If all those boxes can be checked, and conceivably they can be with the relationship with Foundcare, there is savings and actually profound benefits that you would have with this particular entity. So we believe, from the staff's perspective, when we jumped into what the need was and what the business model is, that we think for the investment that would occur on the site and bringing life to that site, that this was the opportune partner for us to get into a relationship with to address the concerns and the challenges we have in our community.
Follow up, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And Mr. Evans, I agree. There is an absolute need in the city. Our 8 square miles has a dire need for this organization. My concern is that particular parcel. The location and the direction of what we want to do with our Broadway. We have a presentation tonight about activating our future development on Broadway corridor and Avenue E. That parcel has been sitting vacant, dormant for a long time, and I know that we want to activate it with a willing partner now. But even on tonight's presentation, we have a development that we're going to be discussing, and there's something that we have a actual groundbreaking in our partner neighboring city that we actually had a joint meeting with. So looking at what Treasure Coast is going to bring to the table in regards to increasing the intensities and densities and determining what we want to do on Broadway, I want us to maybe continue to explore this, but also look at other site locations, because the need in our city is vital. But that location in particular on Broadway, we're very hesitant to award a treatment center to an organization on our Broadway corridor. And now healthcare services is something that we want to make sure that we identify exactly what we want and talk about our master plan. We cannot be discriminatory to any business or any organization that's coming, but we want to make sure that it's done properly and development's done properly. So addressing our master plan, addressing our comprehensive plan, and also talking about what we want to see up and down that corridor. So I love the presentation. I love the organization. I'm just a little hesitant on that parcel.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
When we did have the conversation with Foundcare and we looked at some other sites throughout the community, one of the things that was important was the access to mass transit, and so the bus line. And so that particular site is adjacent to a bus line that can provide for the services necessary, as well as Foundcare provides transportation. But when they communicated to me, based on the data that they have, that 3,100 of residents of Riviera Beach already receive services from Foundcare, that equates to about 10% of our population. And so when we look at that, and then we know that there is still folks that don't have those types of services, to where I can tell you probably about 50% of our employees don't have a primary care physician. By this relationship, Foundcare can provide that primary care physician if the employee hasn't elected to provide that service. And so there's a lot of things that if we try to locate their facility elsewhere, that I don't think we have the property to be able to facilitate that. And the concern that we had from the staff side, quite frankly, is that Foundcare, as you saw, is a very financially strong agency, that they can conceivably acquire property outside of our municipality, and then we lose that opportunity. And so it was a lot of, from the old library facility to the property adjacent to the Boys and Girls Club to this particular property to, we went through and we actually had a tour down to where Fire Station 88 used to be. The old, or the library that we have now, Chris was upset that we purchased the library before he had an opportunity to get that. The Walgreens as well, they did look at the Walgreens, yes, but we beat them to the punch on that. So there has been a lot of discussions as to where they can conceivably locate their facility, and they have to be in certain census tracts pursuant to their funding source to be able to receive the monies that help facilitate the services that are being provided. So it was a lot of trying to fit the most appropriate puzzle piece, and we landed on this particular property. And I think if we looked at other properties, that may be an issue for Foundcare moving forward.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, just one last follow-up.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And Mr. Evans, I completely agree. I don't disagree with the need. The proposed site is just where let's have that pause. Have we looked at any options of a possible public-private partnership where we can actually look at the density of the parcel, maybe building something where we're building a 4-story facility, a 3-story facility, and possibly partner with the city and making it some city facilities, just to maximize on that location, that lot, and make it a true partnership where it can actually be in conjunction with our nonprofit sector and also maybe even some facilities of the city.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We did have that conversation about the possibility of working with another entity, another government entity, to really try to activate the number of trips that would occur on that site. And unfortunately, the speed and the complication with other relationships because of their approval process that Foundcare, and they can speak to that, the investors that they have that will help facilitate the capital construction campaign, the more people that got added to the particular situation, the longer the delay is, and they need to move with speed as it relates to finding a property and building a facility in the community because of the glaring need. And so when we did have that conversation, basically it came to the point where if somebody is not conceivably shovel ready, that it would impede their ability to have their funder move forward with the capital construction campaign. And as was stated in the presentation, that the $2.8 million that will be to create the business incubator space, and what we're looking is for is complementary services to what Foundcare is providing. That is money that the investor is not going to pay for. That is something that Foundcare is going to be paying for because of they just want to focus on what is the true responsibility and mission of what Foundcare does provide. And so even that was something that Foundcare made some concessions to say, hey, we'll do this, but realize that it is something that we have to fund separate and apart, but it'll be part of the overall capital construction. But even that was something that, we had to go back and forth on to get some understanding of what the expectation is. And Chris and your team, if you wanted to.
Yes. So the donors who are willing to participate with us in this project, they were very clear that they needed this to be done quickly, and they were very concerned with the community, and they didn't want it to be diluted with groups and different groups and not knowing whether they would step up to the plate and so on and so forth. So they were very clear. And yes, if we wait too long, I think they will be disinterested and eventually walk away with everything. So that was one of the challenges we had.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
And that was one of my questions. You actually probably already answered it. I was going to ask about any parcels that may have been on the west side of the tracks because of the fact that majority of those residents, the bulk of them are over there, I would assume, that are utilizing Foundcare, and it would be in walking distance from many of them, and then it's also near Blue Heron, which would be the mass transit. So you're saying there really was nothing over there that they could take a look at?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
With respect to the parcels that the city owned, we didn't have a parcel that was big enough to be able to accommodate the volume that they anticipate at this facility. And based on my conversations with the representatives from Foundcare, they anticipate at any given moment anywhere between 300 to 500 visits, depending on what services are all inclusive in there. And so that the parking necessary to accommodate that, even the parcel that we had on Blue Heron that was adjacent to Barracuda Bay, we would in essence have to attempt to acquire the school district's property to conceivably make it work. So as it relates to parcels, we didn't have the size parcel that could accommodate what they're looking to develop related to their facility.
So in order for this to happen, they need to utilize our parcels. They're not trying to look for private parcels.
Originally, when we had the conversation, that was not outside of the realm of possibility. The only way that we can facilitate them possibly making sure that they locate in Riviera Beach is a situation where they worked in collaboration with us as we had. And the reason why, and Mr. Mayor is actually who put us into contact through the Quantum Foundation as they were looking for sites in Riviera Beach. And it was because we acquired the library and Walgreens, some of the sites that conceivably can work for what they are trying to accomplish were not on the market anymore. And so that's when the conversation.
We're the problem. We already caused the problem. We caused a problem for ourselves.
You're buying everything too fast.
Well, I mean, I understand what Mr. Lawson's point was, and I actually had that same thought. And, I'm like, we're really trying to, but I understand the need for this service to be in the area as well. And I was just thinking of some of the others that are somewhat similar, not exactly the same, but very similar in terms of providing health services. A lot that we do have that kind of are along Broadway. Just was thinking, why would we add another one when we're trying to build it up with, other types of businesses? I'm certainly in support of it. I love the project. I'm not saying no, not at all. I'm definitely not saying no. If we're totally not able to put it somewhere else, I don't want to see them leave. But if something comes open on the other side, I think it would be a better fit somewhere else. But no, I totally support the project, and, you know, if that comes to the point we have to put it there, then I would be okay with that. Not first choice, but.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. The one element that I think that as Foundcare, we recognize that what the city's trying to do in this particular area. That's the reason, A, we want to make sure it's a wonderful building that really fits. We want to be the catalyst to this whole area. And that's the reason that 25% of the footprint of the building is going to house a business incubation program, because we want to give it that commercial feel. We want to start small businesses to have them grow in the community. We want to be part of that. We want to support that, and we understand that, and that's the reason that we felt we needed to be amenable. Even though we're in the healthcare business, we said to ourselves, listen, we want to work with the city, and so let's take 25% of this to make it business friendly and really help try to be aligned with what the city's trying to do.
And also, we will be creating jobs. We anticipate at minimum 35 new positions that will be opened. And we also use the community in terms of cleaning folks to clean the facility and some other services of small business that we will be utilizing within the community. So it's not just when we come, we bring other type of services in there too.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Evans, I know that we've looked at, and during Reimagined, we discussed possibly a wellness center at our Wells site. Have we looked at possibly that parcel going in conjunction with a wellness center and facility and healthcare facility at the Wells location that we've talked about?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We did, and it's interesting that you brought that up, councilperson, because we did have, Chris and I had a conversation as he was reading the paper and heard that wellness was a big component of what we were going to discuss related to the new Wells Recreation Center. And what we envision there is more so your, therapeutic pool, your smoothie bar, your dietitian, those types of services, where Foundcare would operate more so on the healthcare side. Now, if we move forward with the construction of the new wellness campus, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility of having some smaller storefront or some presence that, in partnership with Foundcare, that there can be some type of office hours to be able to, have conversations, even if it's a dietitian or what have you, or even pediatric component. I think that's something that can be discussed as a partnership to have another off-site location at one of our other facilities. But we would certainly have that discussion. And I know, the partnership, that's the big thing that in the conversation with representatives from Foundcare is that they wanted a genuine partnership with the city, and that's why they've landed on this particular parcel. And so it's something that we would consider and certainly would ask them to consider as we move forward with subsequent phases of our Reimagined program.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to belabor this point. It's just I want to get into partnership with this amazing organization. I want us to try to find a location and a site. I think that our vision collectively as a board may allow for that wellness site to actually be incorporated with the vision that they're bringing to the city, and seeing if we could find a footprint there and just make that entire corner a wellness facility with our public safety on the south end, and then really building it out with our residents have requested in regards to health, wellness, and then addressing everything holistically in one location. So it was just an option, something that maybe staff can take a look at. I'm adamant about finding this location immediately. I want to move forward with this project, but I'm a little hesitant with the current location.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the complications associated with if we were to look to utilize a portion of the property that is where Wells Recreation Center is, or the City Hall campus, is the speed in which Foundcare wants to move. If they could put a shovel in the ground tomorrow, they would. And I don't want to speak for them, but conceivably they want to be at a point where they're breaking ground in 6 months and going vertical with construction. And that was one of the big concerns from their partner, their funder, to say, if you go to the city and and you acquire parcels from the city and it's going to slow up the process because of bureaucracy, then we would much rather find another parcel somewhere else to move as quickly as they want to move it, and they can speak to that particular issue.
That is correct. We were very, it was told to us that they were really concerned about how long this process will take, and that if we were not ready to do it, that they will pull out.
And Madam Chair, and that's why even to the proposed site plan, that they were amenable to accepting the site plan, because that site plan has gone through the entire process. So they can conceivably get it to an architect and a planner, and they can look at some tweaks and modifications, but it allows for them to move a lot quicker because of the funding that is associated with this particular facility.
Yes, I totally support this project. I have been in healthcare for about 30 years. I remember when it was Comprehensive AIDS Program. The fact that a significant number of people in the city of Riviera Beach are patients at Foundcare. The fact that this is not a NIMBY situation. This will actually enhance and spur development in that corridor. The fact that this is, not a treatment center, but primary care for not just residents, but employees alike. And the fact that you can get started, very soon is something that has made me say this is something that the city of Riviera Beach needs. It needs a health center. It needs something that people can go who are sick, people who can go, and also the whole wellness piece of it, the whole small incubation piece of it. These are the things that we want to bring to the city to be able to spur development. And this is something that I wholeheartedly support, and hopefully we can get started with this sooner rather than later. Any other questions in regards? Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, there's just two things that I'd like from the board. One is if the board has any elements that they would like to make sure are included as part of the term sheet, if you can share that with me, and if you want to take some opportunity to think about it or meet with administration, we can certainly share with you some nuances associated with the term sheet, because we would like to provide a preliminary term sheet for Foundcare to review in the next couple of days, probably sometime late next week, with the intent to bring a more robust document to the board for consideration. And then ultimately, if I can get the direction from the board to move forward with the negotiation process related to the siting of a facility here on 3501 Broadway, and then at our subsequent presentation, I will bring the properties that are in the city's inventory, and then we'll also work with Foundcare to show the overlay as it relates to the census tract that their facility has to be in, and you can see kind of where we were boxed in with regards to that. But certainly I'd like direction from the board or consent from the board to move forward with negotiating the terms and condition of a potential partnership with Foundcare.
And I also just want to add that this is a very competitive process, that there are other cities who want a federally health care facility in there. There are very few jurisdictions that have a federal qualified health center in their neighborhood. So this is a big win for the city of Riviera Beach in terms of making sure that residents and employees of the city have health care and can have easily access to it. So what is the pleasure of the board in regards to moving forward?
Well, I mean, like I said, I support it. I just had, if there were other areas in which it could go, I would be in support of that. But if we're saying there aren't any, I don't want to see them walk away, so I will certainly support it with the understanding that further information will be brought before us, and we will really try to work at making sure that it fits really nicely into what we're trying to do on Broadway. I definitely don't want that part to be missed.
And of course, I support the project. Any comments from?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea. I like the location. In fact, I think my conversation with Mr. Irizarry and Ms. Bonet is, we talked about the same thing that I heard both Commissioner Lawson and Commissioner Miller Anderson say about other locations, and obviously, I heard Mr. Evans mention it, and I don't even know if this was even, I didn't even know he had explored the idea of the Barracuda Bay and acquiring the school district's property in a land swap or even a purchase, but I don't even know where a location better than where this is. Obviously, there are some other concerns. Mass transit is it. I just don't know. I mean, even thinking about the property that we have over at the Alpha Educational Foundation Center. I mean, obviously that's in a neighborhood, and that can present challenges with just traffic alone. I'm seeing that just with having, a large amount of individuals transient going in and out of our communities just to attend the local high school here. That kind of presents a problem. So I think it's an ideal location. I support it. We've even had a preliminary discussion about seeing other resources that we can at least try to look at to make this come to fruition. So I certainly like the idea, and I would like to see the manager go back. Obviously, there are some concerns that I have. Obviously, I don't have any doubts, but the typical due diligence of making sure that we can see that the deal gets consummated and have some safeguards in there as well for making sure it gets done. But I want to make sure that we support it, because this does seem like an opportunity that I don't see anybody coming in to put in millions of dollars of investment, not for profit, but purely for, making sure that access is available to our community. So I support it.
Mr. Lawson.
Just like for the record, again, I love the concept. I'm supportive of the idea. I just don't believe this is the most optimal location for it. If staff can continue to vet it, I'd love to have some additional meetings with staff and take a look at some of the nuances with this. But I know that we've talked about reimagining Riviera Beach, and we've talked in detail about our Broadway corridor. So, I support the project. I just want to find the best location for it. And if this is where staff is going and my colleagues want to support this, then we'll move forward with it. We'll go from there. But we'll have some follow-up meetings from then.
Thank you. Dr. Botel, do you have any comments in regards to this item? She might be gone. So the majority of the council wants us to move forward with this.
All right.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you
much.
so much for coming to the table with something.
Thank you.
We can appreciate that. Our next item, number 5. Madam Clerk, could you read that item?
Nautilus Development Project, proposed development, 3700 Broadway. There is one public comment from Fane Losman, and the acceptance of public comment cards is now closed.
Did we have any public comment from that previous? Okay.
We did not.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, some time ago we had our joint meeting with the town of Lake Park, and they spoke to us about their Nautilus 220 project and some of the things that they went through to facilitate the relationship that ultimately has led to the development that will be coming out of the ground here shortly. And so as a result of the market and the interest and momentum that we have in our city with regards to economic development opportunities, there is an opportunity to see a development of the same magnitude and even larger in some cases here in the city of Riviera Beach. And so CRA staff has had conversations with the developers, and they would like to share with you their concepts and thoughts related to a property that they have are in the process of acquiring, and wanted to get the board's thoughts, perspectives, and ideas with regards to the opportunities. We know that this is something that is a catalyst. One of these projects would be a catalyst to create some additional economic growth and some opportunities within the corridor. We anticipate, if the project goes as proposed, that you're looking at a sizable contribution to the CRA by virtue of your TIF, your tax increment finances, which is the revenue that is collected both from the city and the county as a result of the economic development. And so we're excited about this opportunity. As you can see, You'll hear some more about the concepts and then how quickly and what the development team is looking to bring to the table with regards to this. So I will turn the presentation over to the representatives from the Nautilus Group to share with the board their presentations.
Thank you, Director Evans. Is this the control for the?
I think it might be on the table. The controller. You got it?
There's one there and there's one on the table. There's two.
But this works here.
Yep.
Thank you. Mayor Felder, who stepped out, greetings. Commission Chairperson Lanier, greetings. CRA Commissioners, greetings. Director Evans, city staff, residents, and guests. My name is Wayne Richards, and I have the honor of being the Nautilus 220 attorney. We have followed with great excitement the plans and the growth plans that we're seeing north of Silver Beach Road. The city has met with Lake Park and the developers and have always wondered, why not us? When will this come south of Silver Beach? Well, the good news is the team you're about to meet is ready, willing, and able to move forward with your staff's support and your support immediately. With me, we have the principals of Nautilus, Peter Batarian, who is here. Hi, everyone. Mark Mollica, Forest Development. Larry Zabik, the planner extraordinaire. Well, you'll hear from him as well. We all know Chip Armstrong. Chip has been instrumental in this deal. Chip is a native Riviera Beach person, and Chip will speak with us as well. Having said that, we're going to look at what's happening in the area immediately to the south. Please, Larry.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak tonight. Before I talk about this, I do want to share our experience with your neighbor to the north. The development of Nautilus 220 has evolved over time and was done in partnership with Lake Park. And we envision the same process with the CRA as we look at the possibilities of the development on the south side of Silver Beach Road. We started looking at what's taking place in the corridor between North Lake Boulevard and the Marina Village down the north end of West Palm Beach. There is over $2.5 billion of development in the process right now. Nautilus is in the middle of it, and the property we're going to talk about tonight is adjacent, and we think that there are tremendous opportunities to expand what we've envisioned for Nautilus and our partnership with Lake Park and turn it into a similar partnership with the Riviera Beach CRA.
Thank you, Larry. All right, this is Mark. Who wants to hit this?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to come in front of you this evening. What you see in yellow is current...
Sir, could you speak into the mic?
Sorry about that. What you see in yellow is the current marina parcel that is owned by Lake Park. What is in red is the Nautilus site, and across the street is the old Rosita's Market. And then you see the Winn-Dixie site, which is what we currently have under contract. And the Nautilus 220 site is about 2.7 acres, and the Winn-Dixie site is about 3.4 acres, just to give you an idea of the size of the project. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? That's our current project. There's one better one than that. So what our current project consists of is it's a multifaceted development. We are a residential condo building. We have restaurants, we have retail, we have office space, and we have amenities galore. We have everything from a mini bowling alley to Peloton to a recording studio, something for everyone. It's really a destination. I'll let Mark speak on the next one.
Hello, I'm Mark Mollica. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I oversee sales and marketing, and since we opened the floating barge on the Lake Park Harbor Marina, I know some of you have had a chance to come by and see this, this marvel of engineering and fabulous sales tool. We've been very warmly received by the market. We are presently over 20% sold with 81 sales. We offer a wide range of floor plans from 1 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms, 1,100 square feet to 3,400 square feet. Our pre-construction pricing is about $600,000 to over $3 million. It's not just the wonderful architecture and the beautiful floor plans, but it's an outstanding view, and it offers a great deal of amenities and marina lifestyle and boat ownership. We'll speak to you shortly probably about some things that we're planning to do with the marina. But we're very, very pleased that since we opened up sales and marketing actively in the first weekend of June, we've been very warmly embraced by the market. Thank you. We're delighted that Peter had mentioned that we are a mixed-use development. We have 14,000 square feet of restaurant space that face the marina. We're delighted that we have signed a deal with celebrity chef David Burke. He's appeared frequently on Iron Chefs. He's an author. He operates 14 restaurants in the New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Colorado. He will open about a 7,500 square foot restaurant. We're actively talking to another restaurateur. This is a great feather in our cap. Chef Burke is very well known, particularly in the Northeast and those areas I just mentioned. We're just thrilled. And he actually, he came to us. We really, at that point, were not really looking. We thought it might be a little bit early, but we couldn't be any more pleased. So he's going to serve as a great anchor for us. And do we want to talk about Marina Development? Shall I talk about that? Yeah.
So our property is abutting the Lake Park Marina. And I'm happy to announce that we were recently selected as the P3 partner with Lake Park, and we're going to be redeveloping the marina. What's very exciting for us about that is that the existing marina is full, and this redevelopment is going to allow the marina to nearly triple in size between the expansion of the wet slips and a dry stack storage facility. Also, based on a study that was done by Lake Park, there's a shortage of hotels in the area, and we envision building a hotel on the far west portion of the land abutting Federal Highway, which will sort of continue the mixed-use component of this development. So now you have a little bit of everything, including storage for boats and a hotel facility. So we're very excited to announce that.
During the development of the Nautilus project, and we looked at staging, we acquired the Rosita Markets property. And as we've looked long-term, once we're done with it during construction, we're looking to put a 55-unit apartment complex on that parcel, and that was the northern red square. So we see development in this whole corridor as a great opportunity, and this will just be a follow-on project that we're going to proceed with. One of the big pieces that's going to take place in this whole area is significant improvement to utilities. We're working with FP&L, we're working with Seacoast. We envision we'll be doing the same thing with the Water and Sewer Department in Riviera Beach as well, as all of those area utilities need to be upgraded to handle the increased load, more reliability, put power lines underground so we have less opportunities for problems during storms. So this takes us back to, this is the Rosita site, the Nautilus site, the Lake Park Harbor Marina, and this is the site that we are looking to develop with the CRA. And I'll let Peter close with some vision pictures here.
So I think what we're showing you here is what can happen if we all work together on this project. And to your north in Lake Park, we're about to break ground in December on the Nautilus project. Shortly thereafter, we'll break ground on the marina expansion. And I think that what we're showing you with your sort of approval and support, we'd love to move forward with you on this. I think this would be a great sort of kickstart to your redevelopment of the corridor. and we hope you guys feel the same way.
There was one additional slide that apparently didn't make the final deck, but we did an initial economic analysis. If we had a project with about 200 units, condo, high-end residential, 10 to 20,000 square feet of residential, an additional restaurant, and a little bit of retail space, we're looking at well over $100 million in additional ad valorem tax assessments. So for the CRA, over $1 million a year in added TIF dollars. And that's a conservative estimate based upon something a little smaller than the Nautilus project. But as I said, that was something that we developed in partnership with Lake Park, and we would look to do the same thing with Riviera Beach and with the CRA. These are some of the things that Forest Development is doing with the town. I'm going to let Peter talk about that, and Mark.
We're determined to be good neighbors and good residents. We've dedicated a significant amount of a budget to participate with worthy organizations. We contributed $5,000 to bridges at Lake Park. We pledged $1,000 a month to the Lake Park Elementary School. There was a slide just before that where we donated a golf cart to for their security to make the rounds. We have pledged 6 Dell computers to the library. We're going to be very, very active players in the community. We realize that we're very fortunate to be in the position that we're in, and we want to share that.
Mark, let me also just jump in and say, so during the life of the project, we've pledged $300,000 to local charities. Also, we're participating with the parks, and they are looking to install new playground equipment and a splash pad, and we've agreed to sort of cooperate with them and also contribute to that. So we really want to be an active partner in your community, and we hope you support us.
Thank you. Good evening. This is one of the most exciting pieces for me, having been part of your Hospitality and Tourism Task Force to develop your strategic plan. I know we're ready to start implementing that. This developer is prepared to start promoting Riviera Beach in all these venues and pieces. I mean, you spend how much a month now? Close to $100,000 a month. So there's some of that which could certainly help with the implementation plan of that hospitality and tourism strategic plan. I'll tell you too that there's probably going to be some other promotions with Palm Beach North and Discover the Palm Beaches. So this is a great opportunity to not only promote this project, but to promote the city in whole.
Well, once again, this is a project that's currently contemplated and currently approved with the expanded marina, and we are reimagining the Winn-Dixie site as part of this overall project. So this is simply, if you will, this is a concept. Nothing is set in stone with regards to the property south of Silver Beach, but they do have the property under control, and they own everything else. So the goal is to reimagine the Winn-Dixie property as we reimagine Riviera Beach. We're here to answer any questions and to share your thoughts. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions from the board regarding this item?
Madam Chair.
Let's go to public comment first. Go ahead.
There's one public comment from Fane Lossman.
You guys can have a seat until after public comment.
Thane Lozman, Singer Island. Gentlemen, me and my friends own 71 acres of property along Singer Island and a few thousand linear feet along North Ocean Drive. And we have tried 6 or 7 years, I've tried, and some of the other property owners have tried for 20 or 30 years to develop our property. And we have been unable to. And one of the reasons is we have some Singer Island residents that don't want development. And one of them is part of your team. I cannot support this project as long as Chip Armstrong is part of your team. Chip Armstrong, in case you're not aware, was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and served 9 for drug smuggling. Chip Armstrong has made it his life's vendetta to target me and my neighbors to stop development in Singer Island. So why would you hook up with this individual to be part of your development team? I have a problem, number one, with him being part of your development team. Number two, Riviera Beach is a cesspool of political corruption. I've been to your site at Lake Park. I think it's a beautiful project. I've seen your beautiful sales center, your floating home, or your floating office. Riviera Beach just passed an ordinance last month that floating structures are not allowed in the city. If you try to bring your floating office over here, they would say, no, get it out of here. Well, maybe they would make an exception for you. But the point is there's so much other property, you don't want to get involved in Riviera Beach. You really don't. Go ask developers who've worked with this city. They've been shaken down for bribes. They've had to stop developments. You're going to the wrong place. I can tell you from the developments I've tried to do, I can tell you from developments that other developers have tried to do. Why do you think the Broadway corridor looks the way it is? Because developers have come and gone. You're in the right place in Lake Park. Lake Park is not a cesspool of corruption like this city is. You know, I've been in the U.S. Supreme Court twice and won 2 cases. Cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting corruption in this city. That's how they decided to target me. Destroy my floating home. Arrest me a half a dozen times. Riviera Beach is not where you want to be. You're making a mistake. They're going to come in here. People are going to shake you down for bribes. You just don't want to be involved in this city. Now, maybe geographically you have no choice compared to where you are in Lake Park over here, but you need to be aware. You need to do your homework, see who you're involved with, this man in the first row. Go talk to developers and say, why is this Broadway corridor a dump? Why hasn't anything been done here in the last 30 or 40 years? Why aren't there any major projects like Nautilus on Broadway? And I think you want to reevaluate it before you put a ton of hundreds of millions of dollars into this community.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Are there any questions in regards to this item?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
You know, I know we met with Lake Park, I don't know, maybe less than a year ago or so, and we were all pretty excited and trying to figure out how could we do something like that here in Riviera Beach. And so it's nice to see that they have a project in mind. I just have a few questions. Is there a traffic study, or will we be doing a traffic study? And if you've done one with Lake Park, how does that look with adding all of those extra residents in that area, and how would that end up with having another large project right by it in that area?
Traffic study's been done for the work we're doing in Lake Park. We've not done it for this project at this point in time, but there is capacity within the road network, and we have to meet the traffic performance standards like any other development.
Right, okay. I was just wondering about that because I just thought like that would be a lot of traffic, and how does that play out in that area? And then also with the Winn-Dixie Plaza, I was looking at the border of it. So does it cut off for the tenants that are in the plaza? Will all of that be gone? It's the whole plat, it's the whole parcel?
It is not the whole plaza. It is the north half of the plaza at this point in time.
So when you build that, part of that will be staying, or would that be still there if you all built that? How would that look?
What we showed, we can build on the parcel that we're acquiring.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking to potentially go further south.
Oh, okay. So you're looking to acquire the other part?
Yes.
Okay. And then I think I mentioned it when I did meet with you all regarding the map for the Lake Park project, that I had a concern in the brochure that you all had. It did not have Riviera Beach in there at all. It skipped over Riviera Beach. It had West Palm, it had North Palm, Palm Beach Gardens. It had a number of cities that were there, and I thought that, I felt a little bothered by that because we're right here, just south of Lake Park, and we were not represented on that map.
You should be upset. I take full responsibility for it. I'm the head of sales and marketing. It was an oversight on my part. It will be corrected in the next printing.
Yeah, and you did share that with me when I met with you, and I appreciate that. But I definitely wanted to make that be known because it was a serious concern of mine. But like I said, I love the project, and I think when I met with you all, I told you as well that the neighborhood that's in just to the east of that area, because this is my district as well, so I would have to hear, as well as all of us, but I would really have to hear it if those residents are not in favor of it. So as I shared with you, that's something I do want to make sure that we reach out to them so that they're fully involved. We just had another project just a little bit south of where you all are talking about, and I don't want it creeping up on them, and then we're about to vote and make it happen, and then we have 100 and 200 people who are saying they don't want it. So I want to make sure that that area is very well aware and involved so that
We'll start that initiative directly, and we'll work with your staff on the best way to carry it out.
Okay.
What the message is that we want to send, and if we want to notice a public hearing or any of those kinds of things, we'll coordinate that with your staff.
Okay, but as I mentioned to you all before, I really like the project in Lake Park, and I would love to see something like that here, but I certainly want to make sure the residents are in full support of it as much as possible. Obviously, everyone's not going to be happy, but I want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with what we're trying to do.
Terrific, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Question, and I don't know if I missed it. How many stories would that be if you do decide to Riviera Beach?
That's something we would work with you and your staff on. Nautilus is 24 stories right now on a 4-story pedestal.
Any other questions in regards to this item?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Gentlemen, first and foremost, thank you for your consideration into investing into our city. I know that we've had a long history of some hurdles in our community, but this staff, this board is ready to move forward with development growth and work aggressively in getting certain things done that's safe development for our community. The biggest thing that a lot of us want to focus on is protecting our residents that are currently in place. We don't want to displace our residents, but we want to grow and develop the community that's been underdeveloped for a number of years. The first concern that I would have is going to be improvements. I know the neighboring streets are going to need significant improvements. Our infrastructure to address these large facilities is going to need major improvements. So working with our staff and working with our city is going to be vital to actually getting that done. Widening and reviewing Lakeshore is something that we definitely need to look at because the increase of traffic is going to truly affect the residents there. And then those community threats that Ms. Miller-Anderson spoke about, that's going to be vital from the very beginning because we do not want it to get down to we're having to approve this project and residents are in an uproar of what's coming. So as soon as possible, getting the messaging out to discuss that these plans are in place even before we get the approval. Just letting our residents know what's happening, what development's coming, so we can get as much feedback as possible. And we're going to, of course, do our part as well. The other notes were location. I know that we have currently Nautilus is in negotiations, discussion with the Winn-Dixie Plaza. Has there been any discussions with the adjacent plaza?
Yes, I'm going to ask Peter to update you on that.
Okay.
So on the Winn-Dixie site, we're under hard contract. We're due to close in December. And on the adjacent site, we have had discussions with them, and we're continuing to discuss expanding and purchasing that also.
And I love how Mr. Richards threw in there, reimagine that parcel, because that's what we're visioning. That's what we want to see. And this is what we actually set out to do, develop and reimagine our community and begin to move forward with it. So we're very excited you guys considered the city to build on. Mr. Evans, next steps that we would need to take if we wanted to move forward as a board in regards to policy and legislation, and what would need to be done if we wanted to move forward with a project of this magnitude.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
If I may, I'm going to defer to Mr. Scott Evans, our Director of Planning and Development, and he can speak a little bit about what is contemplated next from the planning side.
Good evening, Madam Chair, CRA Board. The next steps would be staff has already been meeting the CRA and the development services to review this proposed concept. So the next step for us would be to meet with this proposed development team and understand what it is exactly that they're proposing. But in our preliminary meetings, we've been identifying a pathway in which we could move this project forward at an accelerated rate. We would have to amend the land development code, and we think we could do that in a way that incorporates it into the future changes we're also developing long-term for all of the downtown districts. So our next step would be to meet with the development team once they've firmed up exactly what their proposal will be specifically for Riviera Beach. But we've already been meeting and developed a strategy to try and accommodate this if it's the board's direction for us to begin working with them to try and accommodate this project.
And when is, follow-up, Madam Chair?
Yes,
When is Treasure Coast report supposed to be coming back to the board?
We have identified the fourth Wednesday in January for a public workshop where we would present the concept for the new CRA plan, talk about some of the new visioning that we've developed for the Broadway corridor, and talk about the land development codes and updates to the downtown districts. So try and get public feedback, get the board and city council's feedback at that meeting, and then we would incorporate all of those comments into the drafts that they're working on, both for our CRA plan, for the comprehensive plan, and for our land development regulations. So following that January workshop, we would then bring those back about the next 6 weeks after that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I do like the concept of this project. The fact that it could generate a significant amount of TIF for the CRA is something that I'm really looking forward to. Also, not asking the CRA for any money. So I do like that concept. In fact, please bring something like this to the marina. With that being said, I want to say that we really have to have some discussion about community benefits, meaning how this project, even though it's in a certain area, but how the entire community benefits from it. And, I understand, I saw that you provided money for nonprofits and that kind of thing, but we're significant, and this is a very significant project. It's a lot of money on the table here, and we want to be able to ensure that the entire community can benefit from this project happening in the city. Those are my comments. Any other comments from council members? Mr. Evans, what are you asking the council for this evening?
Madam Chair, just like the other item, direction to staff to move forward with looking at what we need to do on the staff side to facilitate some changes in policy to bring this project to fruition. So if it is the pleasure of the board to move so, staff will begin the process to get something to you sooner rather than later. Like Mr. Evans said, there are some things that we will be sharing with the board and the community in January, but we will be working concurrently with the developers to see what we can do to facilitate that particular project coming to the city. So if it's the pleasure of the board to move in that direction and understanding that there are some things that we need to do on our end first, we will move forward accordingly.
I certainly want to move forward with it, but with the caveat of looking at that whole community benefits piece for the entire city, and also looking at the amount of money that it would actually generate for the CRA.
And Madam Chair, consistent with
go ahead.
that particular comment, we are looking to bring you a community benefits program in your meeting in January. So you'll have a policy to review and consider at your meeting in January.
Very good. I've been asking for that for a while because we're moving in this direction of more and more development in the city of Riviera Beach, and even though it may be concentrated in the Broadway corridor or in other parts of the city, the entire city needs to benefit from development. So I certainly want to move forward with it. Any other questions for the gentleman from the board? I think you have your directive to move forward to see how this is going to work out. Thank you so much for your presentation, and we look forward to. Thank you. Let us move to our next item. Actually, we're going to break for public comment. What time is it actually? Yeah. We're going to do public comment at this time. Please be reminded that the CRA Board of Commissioners has adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the commissioner chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, and or the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 p.m. unless there is no further business of the CRA Board of Commissioners, which in that event, it shall begin sooner. In addition, if any item is being considered at 7:30, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Any person who would like to speak during public comments, please fill out a public comment card located at the front desk and give it to the staff before the public comment section is announced. Madam Clerk.
We have 6 public comment cards for non-agenda items. The acceptance of public comment cards is now closed. And I will read in order the names. Fane Losman, Ron Krosky.
Just call one at a time and then we'll actually call 3 at a time.
3 at a time.
So they'll know they're next.
All right, the first one is Fane Losman, the second one is Ron Krosky, and the third one is Patrick Rollins.
Thank you.
CRA clerk. Fane Losman. Well, that's pretty wild. You sit there and you bend over and you want to have a big development on Broadway, but if you went and looked at the king tides today on Singer Island, North Ocean Drive was flooded. Walk down the sidewalk, you see a foot of sand up and down North Ocean Drive. Where'd that sand come from? It came because they dredged a channel 70 years ago and then again 50 years ago, and all the fill is washing into the channel that's about 80 feet off of the sidewalk and is causing erosion, just like on the beach. So now Ocean Drive is flooding, the sidewalk's full of sand, there's seaweed even on the east side of North Ocean Drive. But we had a solution. We had private investors who were going to come in and build 57 homes around North Ocean Drive and Pine Point Road that was going to bring in probably $600 million to the city's general fund, but you let Botel and a few 10 losers on Pine Point Road stop a $600 million investment into this community on North Ocean Drive and Pine Point Road. Because Botel didn't want it, and Matt Lynch didn't want it, and a few other losers. Well, you know what's going to happen? You've taken away the private property development rights. We have millions of dollars invested. What do you think is going to happen? We have one smart guy who sits up there, Chadwick McCoy. Do you think we're just going to lose millions of dollars that have been invested over there? What happens when a community takes away private property? What's the law in the United States when you take away private property? When you downzone property, when you take away the development rights? What's the remedy? There's a big legal remedy. I told you guys, Judgment Day is coming to this community. Me and my friends did not put millions of dollars in here to have Botel and Anderson and Lanier take away those rights. Okay? You have no idea. This is going to be the biggest taking case in the history of the state of Florida, and it's coming down the road, and it's going to happen shortly. And then you can look back and say, why did you let this racist from Singer Island deprive this community of a $600 million development? Why? Because she didn't want to have it over there. You need it just to preserve the road. You got to fill in some of that property and build seawalls. But no, you sat here and you let Botel dictate the future of this city on Singer Island, and the 5 of you went along with the final policymakers, and you may end up bankrupting this city when this is all said and done.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Ron Krosky.
Right.
First of all, I want to say I apologize for what I did earlier. But I'm going to tell you also like this. You guys are trash. And I'm going to do everything I can to get rid of each and every one of you. You know, black people always, I dress up. I got power. We easily be I was struck. Riviera Beach is a place of black people. The police is terrible. You guys running on people with, homeless people. It's cold. Black people, my people. Normally I talk to Bradshaw and Sheriff McCray. I'm sure pretty much you guys know McCray. Ron. But I would not stop until I fire each and one of you. Because you know why? You're trash. You don't forget about where you came from. Don't forget about it. You know what I'm saying? Look at this here. Officer right there. She asked me, do you have a problem? I said, no, I don't have a problem. What you must do, she ready to pull out a billy club on a black man. Black man, for real, we always thought that if we ever had a chance to get anywhere, get to Riviera Beach, because that's our ground. I was a paramedic with Palm Beach Gardens. You know what they said to me? They said, Riviera Beach paramedics are the best in town. I started pumping my thoughts. That's right, that's my people. He said, you know what? Don't flatter yourself. Because they get so much practice. Shooting. The only thing I say tonight, before you go to sleep, before you say your prayers, just ask God, let me do the right thing. And guess what? And once I see all of you guys gone, you know what I'm going to say? Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty. We free at last.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Patrick Rollins.
Call two at a time, please. Next person can sit at this point here.
Okay, so Patrick Rollins and then Denphenia Woods.
How y'all doing this evening, ladies and gents?
How are you, sir? Speak right into the mic.
All right.
Sir.
Okay. Only thing I have to say is, it's like we got a lot of homeless people out here. I'm speaking on their behalf because I'm not homeless. You got a lot of buildings out here in Riviera. Police running these people away. You know what I'm saying? For what? Why not make that building a homeless shelter for these people? Help the people. I don't care what color they are, black, white, candy stripe. You know what I'm saying? Help them who can't help themselves until they are able to. We got the power in Riviera to do that. But we don't do that because our law officers get away from here. For what? You don't go up under the bridge on Singer Island and tell them leave out from under there. But you come over here on the east side, the west side, and just tell them, hey, look, you gotta go. For what? These people are homeless. They ain't got nowhere to go. Rain or shine. Why not make them a place where they can stay? Then we have a better city. Look out for each other, no matter the color. Now, that's all I have to say to y'all.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Denphenia Woods, and then followed by Margaret Shepard.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to, just bear with me, because this is my first time doing this. I'm here to require a sign to be put up, and Bishop Master, my pastor, I've been going to that church for almost 30 years, and he been my pastor, and he have did a whole lot for the Riviera Beach. He feed the homeless, and he give out toys and things for children and book bags for them to go back to school. Y'all know Reverend Masters. Just put a sign up to show that, you know, he means something to this Riviera Beach. And that's it. But just think about it, because he have did a whole lot. And he go all over the world helping people. So, and plus, when the COVID-19, he had his church door open for us to come back to church. So that's what God put on my heart to come to say. So just think about it. Put a sign up in his name, the honor in his name. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, ma'am. Is there anyone after?
Yes, there's one more, Thomas Masters, after Ms. Margaret Shepherd.
Okay.
Margaret Shepherd, Riviera Beach. To all of you in your respectful places, I'm here today because Thursday, when I left planning and zoning, I was very, very ill, couldn't really walk that well. And I thank the ambassadors. They are an incredible set of people. When I walk through that door, I can hear them say, Ms. Shepherd is here, Ms. Shepherd is here. And they come right to my side and help me walk in here. I appreciate them. I appreciate Chris walking me straight to my door, and Howard, I don't care where he see me, he touched me on the shoulder and said, hello, Ms. Shepherd. And I said, how do you know it's me? He said, the bond. So it's incredible that people know who you are, where you are, and when you are, and they accept who you are. But the most important thing, I do want to thank Nehemiah Spence. My house, which is hurricane-proof, I hear nothing. Just 2 bedrooms. And when I walk back there, I hear nothing. But they put the, what do you call it? The cameras and whatever. And if anybody come to that door, I don't care, from a deep sleep, I can hear the little thing buzzing. I encourage everybody that live in the CRA district to reach out to the CRA, to Nehemiah. The one thing I like about Nehemiah, I've seen him upset a couple of times, but he have engulfed into these people to be a gentleman and a scholar. I do see a difference in them, the hospitality that they portray to not just me, but to everyone. I was over at Johnny Longboat with my family, and they were amazed that when we walked out the door, we had all these bags, and they walked right up, made sure we got into the SUV, all our food. And I'm grateful for that, because they were very shocked about this city. And to our police officer, thank you, young lady. She is an incredible young lady, and I see her where she multitask, and I appreciate her. And once again, to the CRA, to Scott, Ms. Anita Jenkins, Nehemiah, and one more person, Mr. Christopher McCullough. As you know, we're still down over at Lindsay Davis, but he taught Gwen and that crew how to plant. And you have to go over and see the garden, the Willie Bow Garden, and go over and see the botanical garden. I tell you, it's beautiful. The flowers are just beautiful. You know, with the rain, it just automatically gives that awe of stability, let you know that we are still here and we're growing. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, Ms. Shepherd.
Masters?
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here tonight to make a couple announcements. One is on Friday at 8 a.m. at the Riviera Beach Integrated Care. We have partnered with the vaccinations, the boosters, for the Moderna and the J&J, one and done. And if you have not, please take this seriously. It's a matter of life or death for many. Secondly, I've come to kind of make sure people know where I am as it relates to whether or not I'm going to seek the office of mayor again. I get calls a lot. Can you run? Will you run? And my response has always been consistent. You know, I don't know, but I know now. At this time, I want to announce that I am not a candidate for the office of mayor. I am very much involved with the World Conference of Mayors as an international ambassador traveling around the world, doing what I do best, and that is giving God praise and glory and serving the people. I did not know Ms. Woods would be here tonight. She didn't say anything to me about that. Number one. Number two, I've never heard her speak on the mic, so she was nervous in 30 years. But I do want to say that I, at this time, fully support everyone on this board, and I ask the city residents, particularly those who have supported me for 12 years, to give this council, this commission, another chance and another opportunity to take our city to a higher level and a deeper depth. And as far as Mayor Felder, I fully endorse you, I support you, and if you need me, as I've always said to you, I'm one call away. I feel that you should be given, I think 3 years is not enough for you. And I think you should be given another opportunity to do what you have done. You know, it's interesting. People say I was too loud, and they say you're too quiet. You know, and sometimes we disagree on a couple issues. I was with Dr. Patel. I was, will always be, unless something happens and you were with someone else. But, you know, that was just one or two things. But overall, I support you, and I look forward to you serving as mayor. You've always respected me. Even when I was running for mayor, you never disrespected me. You're a man of God. God has called you for a mission, and I feel you will continue to fulfill it. Dr. Patel, the mayor, Kashamba, Shirley, Troderick, Douglas, all of you have my full support and blessings, and I'll work with every one of you. And I'm just going to continue to be the ambassador for the World Conference of Mayors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your comments. Next item.
Discussion, update on future redevelopment opportunities. There are no public comment cards, and the acceptance of public comment cards is now closed.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, members of the board, at this time, I'm going to ask the Director of Planning and Development for the CRA, Mr. Scott Evans, to make this presentation.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the CRA board. This is an update on the future redevelopment that is planned for the future, and there's been a lot of interest in specifically in the Broadway corridor, so much that in the next 24 months it could really transform what we can do in the corridor, and the current level of interest has really reached unprecedented levels. Over the next 24 months, we're expecting to bring forward a number of new projects, ones that are both city-initiated and ones that are private developers who are looking to make improvements to their property and bring new development to our area. And the city and the CRA will work with the private development initiatives to support a fast and efficient approval process and try and work with the development community so that they can rely upon a government process, including final city council approval, that's predictable and welcoming to the transformational development that will soon come to our city as we reimagine Riviera Beach. The new development, and a couple of the projects that were presented tonight, we have some of their graphics up here, as well as the Berkeley Landing project, and a few pictures which show what we're trying to achieve in the Broadway corridor. And the new development will occur in our mixed-use areas, our working waterfront, and along the entire length of Broadway corridor. And the city and CRA are working directly with developers to try and achieve the goals for the area, to bring economic development, tremendous tax revenue,
and to support additional redevelopment initiatives that will allow us to further enhance our adjacent neighborhoods, realize community benefits, and provide opportunities for existing business owners. The review of all projects as they come along will seek to enhance the walkability and pedestrian safety of the corridor. This includes providing public spaces, wider sidewalks, providing street trees, and bringing the building frontages closer to the street with parking at the sides and behind the developments. By bringing new residents to live and shop along the corridor, this will help support expanding local business opportunities and start to slowly change the character of Broadway as we introduce more pedestrians to the corridor. As each new development project occurs, each different segment of the corridor can be transformed as we change the sidewalks, street trees, and feel of the corridor for each block as they're redeveloped. Once a critical mass of new development is achieved, and I think in the next 24 months we have a very unique opportunity to achieve that critical mass, the opportunity to then come along with the tax revenue that's generated from that to make further street enhancements, achieve outdoor cafes, restaurants, and new neighborhood commercial spaces that can grow and thrive and represent the sort of pictures that we have in the lower left and lower right, where we have a vibrant pedestrian environment for the corridor. I'd like to talk first about the Broadway North, which is north of Blue Heron along the east and west sides of Broadway. The northern section of the corridor includes the two new proposed developments that were presented and received favorably tonight. The recently approved Berkeley Landing project and several other vacant properties north of it and directly west of it are opportunities to achieve new residential development, and we're seeking to do so through mixed-use projects, which will add residential opportunities both for our residents and to attract new residents, and to activate the street with some neighborhood commercial on the ground floor. And the CRA will hold a workshop in January, which will seek to present some of these concepts and to collect additional feedback from residents and business owners and the City Council to help shape the update to the upcoming changes that we're developing. And these changes will be implemented working directly with the Development Services Department to update the CRA plan, our land development code, and the downtown district specifically to try and provide a regulatory environment that will further enhance and attract more development. The future residential projects will have a look and development approach hopefully similar to the Berkeley Landing project, which is shown to the left. This project includes both public spaces, a great design that fronts on the street. They've included street trees, widened sidewalks, and really enhance the block. And as we add more projects like this, that will slowly transform the corridor. Just moving south, the CRA controls both the north side of the Blue Heron on the east and west side of Broadway, right at that major intersection where we have over 20,000 vehicles per day passing by. And we're working with the Lambert Advisory to identify the best redevelopment option for the 2600 site. And this, we're working on a public-private partnership, which will come back before the board in January to get board feedback on the redevelopment of that site.
Sorry to interrupt you. The 2600 site, that's on the corner of Broadway and?
Yes, that's the northeast corner of Broadway and Blue Heron.
That old community savings?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that again.
So the Lambert Advisory is helping us prepare the options for the board. We're looking to find a public-private partner to help redevelop it. We have some concepts. Lambert is working on some options so that when they bring it to the board in January, you can understand the various incentives that will be needed as we identify the kind of development that we want to bring to that corner. We also are showing the Avenue F, the Blue Lagoon project, which is shown in blue on the screen above. And that is an additional item on tonight's agenda. But that's a site where we're looking to bring small-scale commercial development that's consistent with the single-family homes that are adjacent to it. And that's another project that we're hoping that will move forward in the next 12 months. Moving further south along the Broadway corridor, we have the Reimagined Riviera Beach Key City Hall project, which will really lead to the revitalization of Avenue E and Broadway, especially in this area. And that project is proposed to potentially combine that development with the rebuilding of Avenue E, including reconstruction of the roadway to include decorative street lighting, sidewalks, on-street parking, and new paving and utility infrastructure. This will position the rest of the Avenue E properties for future private redevelopment and really start to establish an overall change, not only in the street and its walkability, but allow those properties that are along there, especially the vacant ones, to redevelop. And then at the bottom of the screen shown in right, we have the city's CRA's recent acquisition of the Miami subsite. And by combining this with the adjacent city property behind it, this provides an exceptional mixed-use development opportunity, as there's direct views of the intercoastal view across Broadway, as that's the county boat ramp park. And this is another future project that we'll be looking to bring to you in the new year. I also wanted to highlight the working waterfront area, which is located on the east side of Broadway, north of the Marina District. And the city's working waterfront is a tremendous economic engine for the city, providing hundreds of jobs and related business opportunities. Both Viking Yachts and Safe Harbor Yacht Service Center have indicated new plans to greatly expand their business operations in our working waterfront area. This will provide hundreds of new jobs, additional new tax revenue, and will bring new commercial buildings that will front along Broadway and allow us to enhance the streetscape in this area as well. These businesses already provide hundreds of jobs, so the impact will approach 1,000 jobs at this location as these businesses expand their operations. And Safe Harbor is actually looking at moving their international headquarters to our Broadway corridor, which would be a tremendous opportunity and will provide lasting benefits, as these businesses also employ a lot of smaller businesses, marine-related, who will look to relocate to our area in order to be co-located with the larger Viking and Safe Harbor operations. And at the south end of the CRA, we also have some exciting new projects on the horizon. And the picture in the lower left shows first phase of the CRA CDC Townhome Project, shown in yellow on the map above. And the various phases of that could go all the way to 13th Street. The new public space adjacent to Avenue E, right across from that street, would enhance its walkability and really start to make improvements to Avenue E south of 13th Street. We also have in the red, adjacent to the yellow area, a private project which is looking to come forward, which would locate a new yacht facility, a sales facility on this site. And it would be a state-of-the-art one with a large glass building fronting along Broadway. And in our discussions with them, they're proposing to help us transform the streetscape, not only on the Broadway corridor portion of this project, which would include street trees, enhanced sidewalk, but also providing public space along the Avenue E side, which is directly across the street from the new townhomes that the CRA and CDC are looking to develop. So this project not only would bring new economic opportunity, they would also propose to bring a state-of-the-art sales center and service facility there. But they would also follow the vision for Broadway, which enhances the street, puts the buildings along the frontage, and then has the additional accessory uses at the side and the rear. And of course, the city's Marina project remains one of the largest redevelopment opportunities in the CRA, and the consultant hired by the CRA, which is Jones, Lang & LaSalle, have been working with the developer and they will present to the CRA board in December to provide recommendations for the next step in this project. I'd like to summarize all of the projects that I just went through. We are looking to realize those, at least the city council approval of them, in the next 24 months, and some very soon. All of these developments planned for the corridor will be coming forward through an expedited staff process, and CRA is working directly with development services to ensure that these projects can move quickly. The new potential construction value for these projects is a staggering $900 million. This increase is equal to the entire existing value of the CRA. In the next 24 months, the taxable value of the CRA could double. These projects require predictability, consistency, and stability throughout the entire approval process, including the final step of obtaining city council approval. The CRA is working with development services to work aggressively to attract this new development, provide them assurances of a quick and efficient process for development approval, and to assure prospective developers that the city is indeed a development-friendly and desires to achieve the kind of development that I've outlined tonight. An important component of this is not only the city and CRA projects that I've gone over, but also to support the private development initiatives as long as they meet our redevelopment goals and the Reimagined Riviera Beach effort. The potential tax revenue of these projects that are on the horizon is equal to $11 million. And of course, this would provide tremendous benefit to the city and CRA because it would allow us to reinvest this money in our neighborhoods, in community benefits, and to help redevelop the adjacent areas of the CRA. So it's an exciting time, and I thank the board for this opportunity to provide you an update on the transformative opportunities that will be coming very soon to the Broadway corridor.
In regards to this Marina Phase 2 project, are we going to be able to determine financial capability before we come with recommendations?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
The presentation that you'll hear in December will be the culmination of the report and the analysis that JLL has done concerning the Marina Phase 2. So you'll get that report, and then they'll share with you what their recommendations are related to that particular topic.
I'm not following. Say that again.
The JLL, our consultants, are reviewing all the components that the board has directed them to review, and as part of their overall scope. And so as part of their proposal, they will give you their opinion in regards to the proposal and the capability of the joint team, and then provide recommendations as to some things that the board is to consider. And then after that conversation, then staff would seek direction from the board, what's the most optimal way to proceed, or any additional questions that we have, we will ask for direction from the board. So that's going to come to you here in your meeting in December.
So we are talking about financial capability.
That is one of the components of the analysis.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I guess to piggyback on that, Mr. Evans, I did have meetings with those consultants, and we did discuss financial capability and the process, but there's some other nuances that they wanted to add to the discussion. Are we able to work on or begin development of a master development agreement to have that ready for that December meeting? Because based upon my meetings and understanding, there is financial capability with certain things put in place by the city. So is it possible for us to start working on that development agreement, to have something and give staff direction to move forward in December with agreement that financials are available to be met, and then also moving with development?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
If we get direction to move from the board to move forward in subsequent phases, we have some documents that we have been working on internally that conceivably it would look to, bring forward a document that the board can opine on. My only issue is that if we look to have the report and then bring a development agreement, There's a lot of in-between work that has to happen and a lot of assumptions. We prefer to get the opinion and the feedback from the board based on the analysis, and then that would kind of be the catalyst for us to move through subsequent steps. But I think with the team that we have, we can move through those steps pretty quickly after the board hears the final report.
Okay, I would love to see us work on that in the interim. I mean, just based on conversations with the consultants, the capability is there, but it's just concerns that they have in regards to negotiations of timelines and also in regards to lease agreements. So I know those are things that we can discuss, but I think that between now and then, I would love for us to begin working on it, because I know staff already has a lot of ideas for what they want to proceed with and how they want to present this. But because this has been dragging for before we got in office, I want us to have something concrete in place and possibly move forward with it. But that's just my feedback for the phase two. I know that we were discussing these other options, so I have some additional comments. Madam Chair, if I can continue.
Yeah, I just want to say something about that as well, is that I really want the CRA to have things in place for this Marina Phase 2 project, which is the biggest project that we have on the table, and to ensure that all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed in regards to money for the project, in regards to sticking to the original proposal, and in regards to what the city, in terms of their vision, in terms of the reimagining, in terms of fitting into the scheme of where the city and the direction they're going. So I really want to make sure that the CRA takes the steps to make sure that when it comes to us, that there are options and that we have a decision to make to move forward and not put the cart before the horse. Go ahead with your questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Scott Evans, Mr. Jonathan Evans, I just want to thank you, because this was amazing. In just over 2.5 years of serving on this board, we're having discussions of bringing $900 million of development in the next 24 months. That's based upon this council. That's based upon the leadership of Mr. Evans. That's based upon Mr. Scott Evans, who's been here with the city. So thank you guys first and foremost. In addition to taking away a 1.5 years to focus on COVID and the pandemic and provide support and services for our residents, we're still having discussions of putting $1 billion of development into our community over the next 2 years. So that's phenomenal. That's really amazing. Mr. Scott Evans, the job opportunities that are going to be coming through Safe Harbor and through Viking. Have we had or began any discussions in regards to internships, in regards to job readiness or preparation from these organizations? Because with the development that they're presenting, I would love for these opportunities to go to our residents. I've seen some of the individuals, they don't have as many residents. And when I talk to them about the percentage of actual residents of the city, it's not very high. So being that they're looking to get this development and get things moving and possibly bring in their facilities for Safe Harbor here, why don't we start some type of training programs in partnership with them and work on building that immediately? Because if we can get that in place now, once we complete this, if we're talking about 24 months, they'll be ready for, rolling right into these jobs so that they can live, work, and play here in the city. So that's first feedback. The social engagement aspect. We've talked about a lot of housing projects. We didn't address much retail, restaurants, shopping, bowling alley, movie theaters. Movie theaters have become almost obsolete to this point due to this pandemic, but the social engagement of restaurants, I'm starting to see them back operating at 80, 90%, almost 100% capacity. So looking at some of these parcels and really focusing on attracting some plots of land where when I first got here, we talked about possibly a Frank Cinnabol. Next to that new Nautilus project would be a prime location to prep that land or look to a private partnership, working with our developers at the Marina Phase 2 to make sure that we can provide those restaurants and that engagement. Because one thing we're missing on this side of Riviera Beach is going to be a sit-down restaurant. It's social engagement. It's things for our residents, our visitors to actually to spend their dollars in. Anytime that I have friends, family that come in town, we have to take them outside of the city just to take them out to eat or to some type of activity. So I want us to kind of refocus on that. And hopefully, as we turn the corner from this pandemic, that can be a discussion with the housing that we're addressing, because we did a phenomenal job with the housing. And last was the 11th Street project. I had a conversation with Ms. Jenkins. What can we do to assist in expediting that project and getting some shovels in the ground? I know that our board is very supportive of getting this done. What additional support can we provide to either to the CRA, CDC, whoever needs that support to get these shovels going for that 11th Street project?
I would ask Ms. Anita Jenkins to respond. That project, of course, is a combination of the CDC and the CRA, and Anita's the executive director of the CDC, so I think she is the best knowledge to understand how we can speed it up.
Good evening, Anita Jenkins. In this case, Executive Director of the CDC, but Director of Neighborhood Services. We are prepared we're very close to submitting the site plan. Like a number of other developments, the construction industry is so hot right now that receiving reports from professionals is taking an inordinate amount of time. We have to go through a replat. There is a alley abandonment and several other things because we assembled a site. And believe it or not, the next step for us is receiving this very detailed, very complicated survey that we need to submit with our site plan. So the surveyors are working on it, but they're backed up with so much work. We're pushing them as hard as we can. We're still on target with the timeline that we last gave you, and we're anticipating a groundbreaking in February. According to our timeline, we have enough leeway in there to make sure that we hit our targets. So we're doing our best to move it up quicker, but the professionals are working. We had a meeting today, and Development Services has been fantastic. Let me just say that.
And Mr. Sermons, he really has been. I've heard nothing but rave reviews from them. So just a quick follow-up while you're here, Ms. Jenkins. The phase 2 of that project, the possible retail wrap with the condos, timeline on potentially bringing that before the board to move forward with that project as well.
We shared with you a few months ago the concept for the remainder of the property. Between the CRA and the CDC, we have site control. There's one small parcel that the project can move ahead without that.
Yeah.
We want to move a little further with phase 1 before we get too far down the road with phase 2, because it is a substantially more expensive project to develop. We're working on concepts. The architects have a timeline, and Mr. Evans has said that he anticipates we'll bring you an update on housing and mixed-use development on the infill opportunities at the January meeting. So I'll be able to share that with you.
Okay. And I'm excited because there's two parts. My colleague always tends to say that we're on borrowed time. So I want to make sure that we can move forward with getting something done, getting some shovels in the ground, and then also really giving the accolades and support to the CDC, the work that you've done in the community, the work that we want to partner with our nonprofit arm to actually get something accomplished. Because once we can do that and we start with a small project, we can start to visit the idea of this $1 billion of development that's coming and put it in the hands of keeping it in-house versus putting it outside to market, especially if the CDC can show us that they're going to get something done and get a product done. Why not keep our city hall in-house and keep all the funds in the CRA and the CDC so that the money can be operational through our city versus going out to market and having a developer build a model that we can essentially do ourselves. So there's so many options, but we have to kind of show that we're going to get it done. And once we kind of start with that, then we can have the support and the encouragement from the community, possibly my colleagues, to say, let's take it to the next level. and let's continue to build and salvage some of that money that's going out and keep it in-house. Because I know that you're working with locals. I know that you're going to provide services for the local businesses, jobs for the local residents. So that will be something that we could actually control and set the standard for development within municipality and truly reimagine what Riviera Beach is.
I appreciate your comments. Look forward in your inbox for invitations to two groundbreakings and one open house for housing in our community in the next 2 weeks. So we have some exciting things to show you. So thank you for the support, and I'm sure you'll have those same conversations with your colleagues on the city council side.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Anita. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Evans and Mr. Evans.
Yes, thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any other questions for Mr. Scott Evans in regards to this presentation?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I'm excited to see us making some moves here, and however we can get this done, I would love to be in support of that. There are some things that we've talked about many, many times, but we have never really gotten it done. For example, I know Mr. Evans did bring up a minute ago about the community benefits part of it, like Ms. Lanier just brought up. And Mr. Evans, Scott Evans, that's something that back with Michael Haygood, we were supposed to have been trying to look at putting something together. So I certainly would love to see that happen during my lifetime here on the board. Because it's needed, especially with looking at the amount of work we're talking that's going to take place. So I'm glad to hear that's something we're going to make sure that happens. That's it. I'm just glad that we're able to start putting some things to paper and actually putting some action behind what we're saying. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Evans. What's that? No, this was for discussion.
This was discussion.
Oh, I'm looking at it. Yeah. Number 7.
Madam Chair, this item is the discussion in regards to the amendment to the Blue Lagoon Plaza development. At this time, I will ask for Scott Evans, our Director of Planning and Development, to introduce this item, and then we also have Mr. Paul Skyers that's here to provide some additional remarks related to the proposed amendment that staff is asking the board to consider.
All right, could we have the clerk to read it into the record, please?
Discussion amendment to the Blue Lagoon Plaza Development Agreement. There is one public comment card, and the acceptance of public comment cards is now closed.
Thank you. Presentation, Mr. Scott Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the CRA Board. This is, tonight we have proposed a discussion to gather board comments on a proposed amendment to the Blue Lagoon project. This project is located on the northwest corner of Avenue F and Blue Heron. And just to provide a little bit of history on the project, Mr. George Steele, who is owner of Tony's Subs, which is existing business, I believe for over 20 years, he's located at 64 West 21st Street. And Mr. Steele responded to a notice to dispose of CRA property, this property that's located on Avenue F. We advertised it in the Palm Beach Post in February 10th in 2016. And Mr. Steele provided the Blue Lagoon Plaza proposal to acquire and develop the property that would include moving and expanding his existing business into the new project, as well as creating 2 additional bays. And the Blue Lagoon Plaza LLC executed a development agreement with the CRA in January of 2018 to develop the vacant parcel of land located on the corner of Blue Heron and Avenue F. And you can see that vacant parcel is below, and to the left is the proposed project. The current status of this, since that development agreement was approved by the CRA board, the Blue Lagoon project has prepared engineering plans and specifications for the construction of the project. The parcel has been replatted to comply with the city's requirements.
They applied through the Development Services Department and went through several amendments to their plans, and they finally received site plan approval in August of 2020. However, due to the effect of the COVID pandemic on the economy and specifically construction prices for this project have risen over 30%. So in the beginning of this year, we started to meet with them to try and identify a way that we could help them to continue to realize this project, which has been, the City Council approved it last year, and we're trying to move it forward. Now, the existing project, as it's approved, includes a $195,000 property of distinction grant, which is used to offset the proposed construction costs. And then the deal also includes a $180,000 property acquisition loan, which would be a second mortgage on the property, and then a commitment from the CRA to provide some technical support as this project moved along. The proposal we would like to discuss with the board this evening would be to add an additional subsidy of $106,147. And this subsidy would be paid out over 5 years. And when we were working on development of this, we met with the BBIC and with Mr. Paul Skyers and Mr. Steele to try and understand what the CRA needed to do to try and help them achieve their funding. So this would allow the project to apply for and receive the construction and development financing that they need to build it. And because of the tremendous increase in the cost of construction, that's the reason why they have been unable to proceed without this proposed amendment. The slide above shows a summary of the new proposed deal that we're asking for comments this evening. The projected tax benefits for the project, if completed, they would provide $189,000, $215 in ad valorem taxes over the next 10 years. The project would pay $33,000 worth of permitting fees and a variety of other benefits to the city, which total $235,000. The combined subsidies that we're requesting board comments on in order to make the project allow it to proceed would be the two existing that exist in the existing development agreement, which is $180,000 forgivable second mortgage and a development incentive grant of $195,000. And when you add in the additional mortgage subsidy, which we're proposing to amend their agreement for, that brings the total to $481,000. So the net subsidy, when you look at the project over 10 years, would provide, the CRA would be providing, if you minus the benefit from the cost, would be about $246,000. And this is consistent with the development of this parcel. It's a very small site, so the amount of square footage combined with providing the parking is very limited. Additionally, it's fairly narrow property, and it's adjacent to single-family residential, so we need to keep the scale of the commercial project one that would be consistent with the surrounding residential. And so this project, we feel that this subsidy would make sense for the CRA. And one of the things we worked with Mr. Steele and his development team is to bring a project that meets the city's land development code and the new vision for the CRA, which brings the buildings forward, enhances the sidewalk, and provides more landscaping along and adjacent to the sidewalk, which creates a more walkable environment. We did meet with the CRA's attorneys to discuss amendment of this contract, and since it was advertised, they have opined that we can amend the contract based on this proposed change, which is to add the mortgage subsidy. And this slide just summarizes the amended existing development agreement, which includes the existing forgivable grant, the development incentive to construct it, and then the new proposed mortgage subsidy, which would allow them to obtain the construction financing to move forward. And this evening, Mr. George Steele is here, along with Paul Skyers, who has assisted him in moving this project through the city's Development Services Department. if it's the pleasure of the board, that they would like to address.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Mr. Evans, before they come, I want to ask you, so are they agreeable, amenable to the terms of the 5-year subsidy?
Yes, we worked collaboratively to develop this proposed amendment.
Okay, and you did say that CRA attorneys didn't find any issues with it. Now, what does this mean exactly, the second provision there with the commercial base to make it available? So they would control who those tenants are or be the lessor? Is that what I'm understanding?
As part of our discussions, the CRA has identified the need to create business incubator spaces somewhere within the CRA.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm going to reclaim my time. Are they going to be the lessors? That's a simple question.
The CRA would lease the other spaces from the Blue Lagoon project.
Okay, that's it. That's all I needed, Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, you mentioned that you had meetings with or discussions with the BBIC?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize that you had meetings with them. I wanted to go ahead and disclose that I'm a board member of the BBIC, so I just want to make sure that that's on the record. So any future discussions, I'll meet with legal to find out what concern or conflict that may have. But as a board member on the BBIC, I wanted to just put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
What is that organization?
It's
Black
the
Business Investment
Oh.
Corporation.
I had some conversation with Mr. Skyers in this project, and I didn't have any aversion to the project, but looking at the amount of subsidy, we're looking at almost $500,000 in subsidy. We give this subsidy to this developer or development. They develop the property. They sell it back to us to lease it to somebody else when we can just do it ourselves and give them a favorable lease rate. Why would we give somebody $500,000 and then lease back the property to ourselves to be able to lease it out to somebody else? It just is not really making sense to me.
What's proposed this evening does not include the leasing of the property. We have had it in our discussions tonight. It's just to amend the development agreement to allow them to build the project. As we're developing the business incubator program, we have discussed with them the ability to long-term lease those spaces so that the CRA could then sublease them to our entrepreneurs through our business incubator program. But the amendment to the agreement tonight would just provide that $106,000 of additional subsidy so that they could obtain construction financing and build the project. And we do anticipate bringing back to the board the leasing arrangements at a future meeting.
I mean, what I'm proposing is the CRA build and lease to them. Because what's happening here is this is a lot of subsidy. This is $500,000 to give someone to build a property, and then we have to lease it back from them to be able to lease it out to somebody else. And for that to happen, that's just too much. I mean, I can't see putting that much money in a property that we have no control over anymore. We don't know that down the road they might want to sell it. There may be something in the agreement that says they can't sell it, but who says they won't? Those things, we have no control over that. We're giving them $500,000 in subsidy. We're giving them the property. We're giving them money to build. So I don't see why the CRA just can't do it themselves and lease the property back to the people who need it. It just seems like, it would be cleaner, because the way it's set up now, the CRA has to now, once it's finished, go to the people who we gave the money to and ask them, can we use those other 2 spots from somebody who we want to? But now, because they control the property, they can say no. So it's just a lot that does not make any sense why the CRA just can't do this themselves and make a very good agreement and a decent fair market rate agreement with the people who need the space. But to give someone or an entity $500,000 and then have to come back and ask for the space, I just can't see that happening.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Evans, how long is the CRA going to act as the leasee? And I guess it is a little awkward to think about. We're leasing it, and then we're going to again sublease it. How long is that contemplated in this agreement?
That program we were looking at about approximately 10 years. Of course, the incubator program isn't necessarily tied to this project. If the incubator project is the CRA providing leasing space somewhere in the community and then subleasing it to entrepreneurs for our business program. That program doesn't have any specific...
I reclaim my time. Mr. Evans, it's becoming almost very difficult to understand because I just want to ask simple questions that require a simple response. Under number 2, RBCRA will serve as the tenant for the other 2 spaces, and the incubator participants will sublease from the CRA. How long is that anticipated?
10 years.
Okay, have we done a pro forma as to what that looks like that we would be paying as far as what the CRA would be paying to, I guess, I don't know what their formal name is, Blue Lagoon's lessor, and what that looks like amortized over 10 years relative to, these other scenarios, which I can't find it in the backup, your presentation. Perhaps I'm not there, but what does that, I guess I need a performer to understand because, the chairperson brought up this money thing, and I, to some extent have a different perspective that's what the mission of the organization is, to spur redevelopment. But I think we have to really think about, obviously this is a long-term liability for the organization, what that inures, because that becomes on their books an asset as a receivable. So I really want to know more about the pro forma and what this really looks like and means for them, because in some sense, if we, and I think she has a valid point that if we sit here and build this and we allow this and we allow them to build it, it's pretty much, I'm almost confused. There's not enough information, but it almost seems disconnected that we're going to do all of this work and then turn around and pay them on top of giving them a subsidy. It just doesn't seem to add up, or perhaps I'm not getting enough information. So that's where I'm lost.
The previous agreement, which was approved by the CRA board, was designed to allow Mr. Steele to acquire the property and develop it. Mr. Steele and Paul Skyers, who's been assisting him, have met with multiple potential future tenants. So whether the CRA becomes the future tenant for our program in the future or not, their project the agreement is designed to bring a commercial project on a small, hard to develop piece. And they have other tenants that they could bring in if the CRA elects not to sublease the property. So that's just the combination of those 2 projects might be ideal, but it's not required for this development agreement, nor is it of any specific benefit or requirement to Mr. Steele, since he has other tenants who he could put in the place if we decided to lease, say, different space from a different building. So the development agreement just allows him to proceed with his project. And then in the future, if we can work out subleasing those properties, that's a separate item that would be separate regardless of which property that we select to do that on.
Well, I think that, as I said, at the beginning of this, I do not like this project. I like the project. I really do. I just think that in its current form, it's putting the city at a disadvantage in that it's, with the subsidy included, giving them ownership of the land and having to come back and ask for those 2 spots. It's just kind of convoluted in a sense, and it just really doesn't make any sense to me to go about it this route when we can just, build it ourselves, give them a long-term favorable lease, and they don't have to incur all of these costs.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Evans, what is in order to facilitate the capital construction on this site, what is in essence the cash that is being brought to the table from the prospective developer?
Actually, I've asked Mr. Skyers to come up, and I don't want to say the wrong number.
And let me ask you another question too of you, Mr. Evans. Can we subsidize the acquisition of our own property?
Madam Chair, by virtue of the establishment of the CRA and in the CRA plan, it's contemplated that, you would assist in the facilitation of hard to develop areas or properties by some type of mechanism. So whether it's a subsidy, whether it's remittance of TIF, whether it's a grant, it's not uncommon for parcels that traditionally would not develop unless there was some assistance to see this. And I think this particular parcel is intended to be the catalyst for commercial development along the Blue Heron corridor as it looks to redevelop. Because if not, then you have a situation where the lot is basically a residential lot, and you're really trying to transform that particular corridor. But you do have the ability, by virtue of the creation of a CRA and some of the elements in your CRA plan that contemplate some assistance.
Yeah, and I, as I said before, I don't have I like the development. I like the project. I just don't like it in its current form and the way that it is set up, and the city losing the rights to it. We have to come back and ask for it when it's already ours. It's just that the project itself is so convoluted, and I do have a problem with $500,000 in subsidy with our own property. But go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm Paul Skyers. I'm with the Blue Lagoon Plaza project. Board members, good evening. The $481,000 that you have a problem with, you will recoup that plus more in addition to other benefits over a 7-year period. That is actually not a subsidy as you're envisioning it, but an investment. The challenge with doing small-scale development, infill development of that nature on commercial sites, is the restriction of the physical size that you're combating with. And in exchange for that, trying to bring on board more entrepreneurs, more businesses from your community to generate more tax revenue and more jobs. So there's an investment that the CRA makes in exchange for that increase in hiring, the jobs, and also the tax revenue. You'll recoup that 481 over a 7-year period. So I would envision it more from the perspective of being an investment than just a flat out subsidy per se.
Can I interrupt for clarification?
Yes, go ahead.
Expound on what you mean recoup that in 7 years. Are you saying on the return of TIF and ad valorem revenue? What exactly do you mean recoup?
Sure. So TIF, ad valorem revenue, and economic activity.
Okay.
Because you're looking at job creation, you're looking at salaries, you're looking at economic activity in terms of goods and services and merchandise being exchanged. So there's a host of at least 6 or 7 mechanisms through which the city will benefit economically from an investment as small as that one is. And over a 7-year period, you'll more than recoup that and in all likelihood exceed that in economic activity by a factor of 2 or 3. Your current situation now, as is, you'd have to find the 700,000 plus that the entrepreneur is bringing to the table, in addition to the 481 subsidy that Madam Chair is referring to, in order to leverage and bring that kind of return on your investment. You have somebody who's willing to go at risk in order to accomplish that. And this person has a 25-year track record in the city. So one of the things that we do at the Resource Center is ensure that we bring stable tenancy to the environment. Whether you want to use that vehicle as your incubator or not is up to you. I'd urge you to do it, because there are certain businesses that marry themselves well to traffic generators like restaurants. And those tend to be the businesses that need a leg up, a little bit of a push in your business environment to get started and to expand. From those small businesses come local hiring, people who typically would struggle to get jobs elsewhere. They can find employment through those locations. It's up to the board's pleasure. But you're not you're not throwing money away because you're investing in an investment that's going to yield you at least a 3 times return on your investment. This is an investment.
Okay. I'm still not satisfied with the way this is set up. You know, this is supposed to be an incubation, but it seems like a windfall for an owner. It's just that the amount of money, the fact that the city loses control of that property, it goes to the person who purchased the property, which the city basically is doing that, and we have to ask for the right to to have some incubation or some other tenants in there, you know, after, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Remember now, incubation is not exclusively just about 4 walls, putting an entrepreneur inside of 4 walls. You're also providing them with management and technical assistance so that they can grow their business. If these people had the ability to fend for themselves in their early stages and didn't require management and technical assistance as a part of the incubator program, then I can understand, you know, your premise. But you're providing them with a bevy of services in addition to 4 walls. You will find that you have certain people that will graduate from that space into larger spaces, therefore creating an economic multiplier within your own city that couldn't have been recognized or realized without a venue like this.
All right. Thank you, sir, for that. I appreciate your comments. I really do. I'm just not convinced. My colleagues are, but I'm not convinced. The CRA has $700,000 in its coffers for incubation. So there's that. But the way that this is set up, and let me be clear, I do not like this project. I like it. I do.
I hear you.
I just don't like it in the current form that it is, in terms of disagreement, in terms of what the city is putting into it, in terms of what the city is getting back from it, which is basically, you know, if you like, maybe 2 spots in it. So it's just really not even making any sense for me. And that's just my opinion, but I do like the project, so it would have to come back in a different form for me.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Being that there are some concerns, is there a way to get to where Ms. Lanier is speaking of and being able to move forward? Can we look at modifying it in some sort of way, as well as incorporating some of the concerns that Mr. McCoy may have?
Madam Chair, if I may, and
go ahead.
If Mr. Evans can provide some additional context, I think we can look at providing a little bit more clarity as it relates to the economic return on the investment. I think if you have a situation whereby the CRA is going to serve as the developer and construct the space, then you have a situation where we're going to spend at least $1 million to construct the space, and then we now become landlords, and now we have a situation where you're going to probably have to subsidize the rents that are there because parking is going to be an issue. It's a challenging site to begin with. So in order to get folks to utilize that space, you may have a situation where you have to reduce the rent, and then your payback on that $1 million takes that much longer than another situation. The other side of it is if you restructure that to that point, then now we have to go out through a competitive solicitation process to make a determination as to whom are the businesses and the tenants that will occupy that particular space. And so it gets that much more challenging. And then we're responsible for the groundskeeping, the O&M, the maintenance of the plaza or what have you. And so there is some staffing implications as well. So if we were to break the deal and restructure it as such, there would be a lot more risk and liability on the CRA side. If it is a situation where the terms and conditions as it relates to the subsidy, as far as the new money that's being brought to the deal, the other challenging component is if we were to go back out for solicitation, say to the development community or the perspective that, hey, this is what the deal is, you have a situation where someone may conceivably respond, but then when you go through the underwriting process, that they may not have the capabilities and the years of experience to be able to provide comfort that they can conceivably occupy the space to where you don't have a situation where you need to come in and help them. So if it's the board's pleasure to go in that particular form or fashion, it would be substantive to where we would have to, restructure the entire arrangement and go back out to the market. Mr. Evans or Mr. Skyers, if you wanted to add some additional.
I just want to say that, I just need another scenario other than this one. The way that this is set up is not clear. We need some more clarity in terms of how this is laid out. And there are several other options I'm sure that we can do, but this one is just, it doesn't work.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Skyers and Mr. Evans. So perhaps, I guess I'm looking at the resolution from 2017, and in the backup, there's literally a performer in the backup. And it even gives an estimate of construction costs, which puts it in 2017 over $1 million. But what's not clear is, when I look at this, what you're saying that we're going to be rebated in, I believe, recoup in economic activity in TIF in ad valorem, you said over 7 years?
Right. TIF, not just TIF and ad valorem, but also in terms of economic activity.
But that's more of a economic activity is almost something that you can't exactly estimate. That's
I can
with accuracy.
I can do it within 7% variance.
Deviation. Okay.
Based on the hires, employment, based on the consumption of goods from the restaurant and the other tenants that are going to be in there, I can give you an estimate within 7% plus or minus variance.
Okay. So, but perhaps looking at what was presented in 2017 may make it a little bit clearer, because it lays out project funding and sources, and then it even speaks to those economic benefits, but it gives the scenario of $10,000 in ad valorem revenue per year. That's not the same scenario unless you're talking about a whole lot of economic benefit that I guess I'm not understanding or seeing. I just don't understand how we can recoup all of the subsidy
let me give you
or the investment that you suggested in 7 years. It just doesn't add up.
Okay, well, let's divide $480,000 by 7. Right, so if I'm doing my math correctly, that's about $64,000.
Right, and here's where I'm confused.
For each year.
Mr. Skyers, what I'm looking at in the economic benefits section of the 2017 resolution is that the only thing that I see that is going to add is $10,000 in ad valorem taxes. I'm not even going to factor in this estimate of sales tax, because that, as far as I'm concerned, is superficial. That doesn't even benefit us, but I don't see where the economic benefit adds up to that $70,000.
Right, you wouldn't see it there because.
Well, help me see it. That's my question.
Okay,
can you give us a better performer that's measured against 2021 in some real conditions, as opposed to hypotheticals like sales tax, which, first of all, by the time the school district gets the sales tax money in the county, let's not even talk about that's going to be a real benefit for the community.
That's just the portion that's extrapolated to the city. That's not 6.5% of gross revenues. That's just a microcosm of the portion that actually makes its way
But
to
it says 6 times as much in sales tax. I don't know how you can come up with 6 times as much.
We know what they're doing right now in revenues, right? Well, you don't,
but how does that benefit the city of Riviera Beach or the CRA or the organization?
Every time a good changes from one hand to another in your city, the city benefits.
I got it.
So if I have a widget and I sell it to Junebug, that transaction is an economic benefit to the city. The question is how much, and that's the valuation that I'm going to prepare for you, because you want to get closer to understanding how the $64,000 per year works.
And I want to see that performer. If you spend $1 in the CRA and there's a 7-cent sales tax, how much of that 7 cents is coming back into Riviera Beach or the CRA is what I'm looking for, because you have it almost laid out in here, almost as if that's something that we can actually measure. I'm not sure you can measure that with that sense of...
I've been doing this for 34 years. What I didn't put in there was the benefit from salaries and the benefit from movement of goods and services at the wholesale level, but I will do that for you.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's really not clear. And then obviously I would expect that the prices of construction are definitely going to increase from what this 2017 number, but
Certainly.
you know, just put that to the side for a moment.
Okay.
Considering we're now talking about then coming back to potentially lease the 2 spaces, this is a lot of capital outlay and operating cash going into this project. And I just really want to understand exactly from start to finish, what are we looking like year over year as far as if we choose to lease those spaces for the incubator program, what that does to our operating cash, what the capital outlay is, given the new, I guess, economic conditions in the current market. I mean, you have to really be able to sell this and let us know that this is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it seemed like it was good in 2017, but make it work, make it make sense.
Okay.
And that's my position, because I don't know, I'm not even sure I understood what I was looking at with your presentation compared to what was presented in 2017. They just don't line up.
Well, no, well, those are 2 different scenarios. In 2017, the incubator wasn't a part of the deal.
Sure.
Staff came back to us and staff said, we have a need now in 2021. We have young people who are graduating from college, graduating from school, and they want to get into enterprises, into businesses. Some of them are a small scale and need a very small start in order to launch into larger businesses. Would Mr. Steele be amenable to leasing out those spaces to incubator tenants? And we said to staff, Mr. Steele had that very thought to stay local in terms of looking for tenants in the location. Now, understanding that this location is already a low profit environment, you're looking at a cap rate of 4.2 at best, in all likelihood 3.8, so it's somewhere between 3.8 and 4.2. This isn't Nautilus. This is a very small scale application. Mr. Steele was willing to sacrifice profits to do that because he's been here in this town since 1997. This is home for him. This is all the kids that he's raised, fed, nurtured.
And we know Mr. Steele. We are rooting for him. We want to make sure that this works for him, but it has to work for the city as well.
Okay.
So there are some options that I've seen, some other models. I'm sure we can work it out.
Certainly.
We just need to bring it back so that everybody's on the same page in terms of understanding the clarity of what's happening here. Okay. But I like the project and I want us to move forward, but it has to work for the city.
Yes, ma'am.
Follow up.
Go ahead, sir.
So obviously, what 2017's resolution shows is what those square footage is. I think I see the other 2 units being just over 1,000 feet. Can you give us, along with your pro forma, what the current market rate is per square foot and what we can, with some sense of certainty, be able to estimate over the next, whatever, did you say 10 years that we could be potentially leasing this? What that looks like, and obviously adjusting for inflation. But the truth is, those are real costs that we need to know before entering into an agreement, because what we're going to do is commit this organization for 10 years. And, quite frankly, I don't know that we'll even be around serving on this board for 10 years. And I want to know what that looks like or have some reasonable idea of what we're committing the organization to. I'm not closing the door. I just think, if it takes that to make it work, let us all have a good understanding of what is being required from the organization and the commitment that we're putting the organization in for years to come.
There's another way to do it.
We got it. we're going to move forward, but we're going to come back to the board with this so that we can hash this out.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Next item.
And there's one public comment card from Margaret Shepard.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Shepard.
Margaret Shepard, Riviera Beach. If I'm not mistaken, I think planning and zoning had this particular project twice, and I think it passed through planning and zoning. So let me step away from that because I try not to speak on planning and zoning, but just the element of surprise tonight to hear the roadblocks go up. My cousins who came from Detroit, and we're all Bahamian, they always want good food, and I thought about Tony Stubbs, and I got all the soup, salads, or whatever, and they were so impressed that I went back, I think I got 4 more, and they put it in dry ice, and they're taking it back to Detroit. I said to them, by the time you get back, the restaurant, and I showed them where it was going to be, and they were excited to be right there on that corridor. I understand the money part of it, I do, but I took them to breakfast at Southern Kitchen, not Riviera Beach. Went over to the Carbon Station, not Riviera Beach. When do I say, come on and dine with me here in Riviera Beach? The roadblocks go up. I think this was vetted very well with planning and zoning. But then we get here, we go through these technicalities, and then you kind of put it to the side. I kept asking somebody, when are they going to build? When are they going to build? And of course, I was out for a while, so I didn't know the logistics, but I'm glad I came here tonight so I could hear it for myself. Where do we go in Riviera Beach? Where do we go? I'm so glad that you all committed to the crab pot because I didn't have the nerve to do it because of the traffic, parking. Nothing wrong with the restaurant. And here we go again. I really think where he's at now is just unsavory to me. The clientele is there, but I think if he came out on the forefront, I think it would bring his business up a little bit better. Because to me, it would be like a Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks where you could eat, sit out, enjoy one another. Right now, it's nowhere to sit and really eat. Inside, it has a lot of people come through there. My question is, where do we go from here? We continue to vet things that I think, if I did it through planning and zoning twice, and I think we did a very good job of it. Why do we get here at council and then we begin to stall? It just does not make sense. Not at all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next item.
Resolution approving the remaining steps to be taken to align Riviera Beach Marina Event Center to be operated by the Riviera Beach CRA. There are no public comment cards, and the acceptance of public comment cards is now closed.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, at this time, I will ask that Mr. Scott Evans, our Director of Planning and Development, make this presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the CRA board. The item before you tonight is for the unwinding of the New Markets tax credit transaction, which allowed the city and the CRA to build this city's event center. And we've hired the firm of Bryant, Miller, and Olive, and Mr. Bob Reed specifically representing and they've made a couple of presentations to the CRA board to try and get your feedback on how we should structure the unwinding. And so tonight before you is a resolution which will complete the unwinding process. Currently, the City of Riviera Beach leases the land underneath this building to the Riviera Beach CDE. The CDE had to be created in order to obtain the New Market tax credits. So this change is one that contemplates the management and control of the event center, which would be transferred from the CDE to the CRA, and then the lease of the land that the building is on would also be transferred to the CRA. So we've invited Mr. Bob Reed from Bryant Miller Olive to go over the various documents that will enact this change. And so recently the CDE board had a meeting and they approved all of these changes, which would give the CRA control and management of the event center. And additionally, this will have to go back before the City Council, and we've projected the December 1st City Council meeting
before all of the transaction can be completed. Now, the unwinding with the banks is already completed, so right now the remaining changes are the ones that are on the Riviera Beach side of the management and control of the event center. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Bob Reed from Bryant Miller and Olive. He's joining us.
He's
remotely.
virtual? He's virtual?
Yes, he's joining us virtually.
No way. I thought he was coming from another room. I don't know. Who knows?
You scared?
Sorry, my microphone was muted. Echo there, sorry. Good evening, everyone.
Yes, speak up a little bit, sir.
Okay, I'm not sure how much more I can speak up. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Excellent. We have had several discussions over the last several months with both with this board, as the city, as the CRA, and with the CDE board. And the ultimate result of all that discussion was for the immediate future. It made the most sense for the CRA to continue to operate, maintain, and be responsible for the event center that was built through the New Market Tax Credit financing. And that financing is over. It's been unwound, and it's all, as Scott said, within the Riviera Beach family of entities. Now, in order to remove all of the remaining New Market Tax Credit parts that are not needed anymore, there's a series of actions and resolutions. As Scott said, the CDE approved theirs yesterday. And the resolution that's on your agenda basically provides the CRA approval. And what that basically boils down to is the CRA agrees to accept by an assignment of the ground lease, the ground lessee position of the event center, so it would be a direct relationship, lessor lessee, between the city and the CRA. And in exchange for basically just transferring that to the CRA.
Can you make that a little clearer, Walter?
We having video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, he might have to go out and come back in.
Mr. Reed, can you try to disconnect and reconnect so that we can perhaps get a better audio connection?
Yes.
And the other thing you can do is to turn off your video so that all your bandwidth on internet is just the audio.
Okay, well, the bandwidth is pretty heavy. Is that any better with the video turned off?
Yep.
Yes, it should be. So if you disconnect, reconnect, and then turn your video off.
Okay, so you want me to go ahead and leave the meeting and come back in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll leave now.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Scott Evans, I had a few quick questions. The CDE, what is the current balance or budget in the CDE, and who's controlling the money?
The CDE, through the New Market Tax Credit transactions, they accumulate dollars over the 7-year period. So they've accumulated over $1 million, which we would look to reinvest into the Marina project. And now that amount also includes, there's a debt that they have to pay to complete the transaction, but they have over $750,000 total that's available for reinvestment into the Marina.
And how is that going to be dispersed to improve the Marina?
Previously, it was envisioned that it would be designed to help build out the various spaces in the event center. If we can attract new tenants, those tenants would require some build out of their spaces, and we have limited build out dollars available in our budget. So the previous thought when we originally entered into the transaction was that those dollars could be invested to help the new tenants to build out those spaces to bring additional restaurant or entertainment uses to the event center's vacant spots.
Are we talking about the inside space of the event center, the restaurant pads? What are we talking about?
Yes, it could be used anywhere, but we were talking about, the original intent was there's an upstairs patio facing the Intercoastal, which has not been finished. There's also, if it was finished, we would need to do additional interior improvements upstairs. And then also we have vacant space on the northeast corner of the building, approximately 3,000 square feet, that is designed for either a future restaurant or some sort of entertainment retail use.
And I know we've had discussions about that because we recently talked about budgeting dollars. So instead of using the budgeted dollars that we did put aside, we'd use the money from the CDE?
Yes, right now we have the absolute minimum budgeted to build out all of the spaces of the event center, which we have projected to be $1.2 million. Mm-hmm. So the CRA approved budget has $400,000, and then in addition to the CDE's money, we could then provide that subsidy.
And are we going to look to recoup that money with the development of Phase 2? Because I know that this rehab was supposed to be a part of the Phase 2 development, but we want to expedite that process and possibly have it prepared. But from my understanding is the space that we're going to be building out is still going to be a part of the Phase 2 development, correct?
Yes, and then we would obtain commercial rents from those new tenants, so we would get those dollars back. So
okay.
The build-out dollars that we helped to attract them to our spaces.
So here's my concern or my confusion. We're going to spend the money to build out the space, include it into the Phase 2 development, and then recoup that money from the rentals of the Phase 2. But we literally were able to have the developers come in and finish the space themselves with those dollars and still recoup it and not spend this $1.2 million.
If the developers were able to complete it on their own, then we.
Well, that was the intent, because when we brought this to the board and discussed finishing this space over a year and a half ago, that was what was told, that we could not move forward with that space because it was included in Phase 2. So I'm confused as to why we are now going to spend the 1.2 in regards to finishing the space, even though it's still part of Phase 2 development.
We've reserved those dollars to build out the spaces because we believe it's needed to attract the tenants. The reason that the spaces was included in Phase 2 was because during our initial discussions with various restaurant owners, we realized that it's a very difficult for a government agency who is not developers to try and negotiate various restaurants, various entertainment, and get them all coordinated to provide a destination experience. For example, you need restaurants to have different menus. You need them to operate collaboratively. You need to select restaurants that will work together to attract more people. So we put the vacant spaces of the event center in the Phase 2 to try and avoid conflicts between having different restaurant owners, different business owners who are not working in the same direction. So we wanted to put all of the responsibility of creating a destination and bringing all of the businesses, which could be, many new businesses could be located here, under the authority of one developer, so that he could make sure that all of those are coordinated. But we never anticipated not having the build-out dollars available.
I guess that's my concern, Mr. Evans. When was this building completed?
In 2016.
And that's part of the issue. We're going to use the CDE money now to build out the space to attract developers, but it's been vacant for 5 years, and we could have really used these same dollars that have been there to build out the space and have been collecting rentals or rental money on the actual space that's been completed. So I guess no time like the present. We'll just move on. That was rhetorical. Let's just go to the next step. Future plans of CDE. And who are the current CDE board members?
The current CDE board members are required by their bylaws to be three. They're a board of 5, and so they have the president is the executive director of the CRA, Mr. Jonathan Evans. And then the other two, there has to be 2 more city or CRA employees on the board. So the other employees are myself and CRA Office Manager Shirley Lanier. And then the remaining...
Desir.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chair while I'm saying it.
So, Mr. Evans,
I'm sorry.
Scott Evans, Jonathan Evans, and Shirley Lanier.
And then we have 2 additional community members, and they are Zar Hassim, who is the owner of Boathouse Discount, which is a local business, and then Pierre Rodriguez, who is the vice president or manager of Comerica Bank, which is also located in Riviera Beach.
Riviera Beach, right. And then what are our plans for the CDE?
So the plan for right now is to proceed along the concurrent pathway with redevelopment of Phase 2 so that the CDE can provide those dollars to help us with the costs of that redevelopment.
Is the CDE able to be impactful in the continued development and growth with possibly additional new markets tax credits, or has it run its life expectancy? Where do we stand? Do we still have any benefits potentially in the next 3, 5, 10 years with the CDE?
I'm not an expert on the CDE. Mr. Reed could, we have asked him to look at it, and he could opine on some of the additional options. The CDE could, of course, apply for additional tax credits in the future, but we have not determined, beyond helping the Phase 2 project with the existing dollars, what else they would do. But I believe Mr. Reed could give some options to this board on what that CDE could be used for in the future.
Yeah, hopefully he's clear now, because it just seems like it's nothing but beneficial for that CDE, because we essentially have close to $1 million in revenue to finish the build out that should have been done years ago. So utilizing the benefit of the CDE that's created for us and see how it can be impactful moving forward. Thank you, sir.
Let me ask a question. I think that most of the restaurants probably, or the businesses would probably want to customize their build out anyway. I think that we need to look at this money in terms of marketing for a restaurant on a pad at the marina. I mean, if we're talking about restaurants, we're talking about we need a restaurant in the city of Riviera Beach. What else better idea would to have a restaurant pad at the marina? We can use the money to hire the consultants to do that, because as I said before, most of the entities that come into that space want to, have a custom build out. So us building it out and then, not then trying to find somebody to go into it, versus, to still book the cart before the horse, just do it on the marina pad, and we can have some, we can at least have that. We're looking at, we just need to focus on those restaurant pads that's at the marina. We can do that, and I think that we can do that quickly and easily, than just, trying to go through this whole thing of, we build it out, and then we got to find somebody that is, can go into that customized piece. So it just seems like a lot that we can just do something quickly. And when I say quickly, I don't mean cheaply. I mean we can do something, instead of going through that process, looking at marina pads for restaurants. And I think that we could do that more efficiently.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. I have reconnected. Is the audio any better?
I'm sorry?
This is Bob Reed. I've reconnected. I've been listening. I just want to see if my audio was any better.
Oh, yeah, it's much better, much better.
Okay, very good. I'd like to go back to the resolution if we can. Complete that action. As I was saying, to get the other parties out of the transaction, sort of clean it up, the CDE approved an assignment of the ground lease from the city to the CRA. Once that occurs, the CRA currently leases that facility from Riviera Beach Event Center LLC and has entered into a parking agreement with it to provide parking. And once the ground lease is assigned to the CRA and approved by the city, that lease of the event center by the CRA from the Event Center LLC and the parking agreement is no longer needed. So essentially what's in the resolution is agreeing to accept an assignment of the ground lease of the event center from the Riviera Beach Event Center LLC, subject to the city approval, and concurrent with that assignment would be a termination of the existing facility lease and the parking agreement. And that results in the CRA being, as ground lessee, in charge of the event center going forward. So that's the action that's before the CRA tonight.
Okay, are there any questions in regards to this resolution and in regards to this item? Very good. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner McCoy is absent.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Lanier.
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
but only for the immediate future, not long term.
That's between the CRA and the city.
All right, very good. We are now at the end of our agenda. Are there any questions? Are there any discussions by the Executive Director?
Yes, Madam Chair. First and foremost, certainly wishing everyone a happy Veterans Day tomorrow. And if you have some time, certainly come spend some time with us here at Marina Village. We have a ceremony that starts at 11 o'clock tomorrow. And certainly recognizing our veterans and their contribution that they've made to our quality of life and the freedoms that we enjoy. So we want to thank those that have served our nation. We have a list of holiday events and activities, and so we're encouraging you to certainly visit our website. We have our holiday events. We have Light Up Riviera Beach Holiday Decorating Contest, registration from November 15th to December 2nd. So see our website for more information. We have our Winter Wonderland at the Marina, December 3rd, and we're going to have holiday lights, snow, live entertainment, train rides, ice skating, and our tiki market. And then we have Winter Wonderland that's going to be December 4th, 11th, and 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. December 5th, we have our Hanukkah event. December 11th, we have our Santa Dash Fun Run / Walk, and that's from 7:30 to 12, and we encourage folks to come out to the Singer Island Community Garden. December 26th, we have our Kwanzaa event at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's going to have live storytelling, poetry, art, tiki market, and much, much more. And then we have our Kwanzaa drive-through event, which is going to be January 1st. And certainly thank you to all our sponsors. And Madam Chair, actually, my last comment. I wanted to see about the availability the board has to move your December 8th meeting to December 6th, which is a Monday, and see if that day works.
For what?
For the board, for your regular meeting. The reason that I'm asking is there's a P3 conference that's occurring on the 7th and 8th, and in light of a lot of our projects, there's some conversations and discussions and some sessions that I think are interesting that I'd like to attend, and I wanted to see if the board was conceivably in favor of moving your December 8th meeting to December 6th.
That's a Monday? Yeah, that's fine.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my comments, Madam.
But yeah, make sure you advertise that way ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Evans, I'm not in town that day, but I can call it.
She's out of town that day.
Sorry.
All right, very good. You agree. General Counsel?
Madam Chair, just expand on Mr. Evans' comments earlier when you had a
questions regarding billing. Every Wednesday, we do have a meeting with the entire staff regarding all pending legal issues. Each day, we're in communication with staff and discuss contracts and doing the work. But on Wednesdays is is kind of like a staff meeting in which we discuss all pending legal issues. We've taken note of your concerns and will provide a lot more detail for your analysis in our future bills. So,
Thank you, sir. Dr. Botel?
Yes. I have no comments. I'll save them until I'm there live and in person.
All right, very good. Mr. Lawson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to kind of piggyback and jump back into the conversation with the restaurants. The restaurant pad and finishing the marina space, I think, is going to be vital. But one of the reasons I asked for us to possibly look at a development agreement with the developers that are coming into phase 2 is because we have to address first and foremost the parking. We can't finish out or build out this space without actually addressing the parking. We can't build another restaurant. We can't put anything else there because we're already at capacity with parking. So I think that needs to be a priority, Mr. Evans, when it comes to the discussions with the developers. First and foremost, getting that parking garage erected. That would be the first concern with looking at any restaurants or any additional retail. So I know that we're going to wait till December's meeting, but then being prepared to move forward with a development agreement. The next are just going to be announcements for upcoming events. November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. There's going to be community turkey drives and giveaways for residents. But in addition to just the traditional turkey drives, each one of these organizations, Reggie D Foundation will be the 24th, Steve Harvey will be on the 23rd, and Sincere 2000. They'll be providing resources to all the residents of the community. They're going to be working with staff and Mr. Evans in regards to different housing options, mental health support, and community organizations just to provide, in addition to just turkeys, but actual support for the family. So those events will be posted online, like Mr. Evans stated. They'll be updated in regards to the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Youth Rec and MAMA, Mothers Against Murderers, will be giving away free meals on Thanksgiving Day. So please reach out to either Artie Williams or Angela Williams, and they will be able to be in contact with providing free meals to anybody in housing complexes, homeless shelters, senior facilities, anyone that just needs a meal for Thanksgiving Day. Artie Williams is 561-201-9358. So please reach out to him if you guys want a meal for Thanksgiving. And those are my announcements. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilwoman Miller Anderson?
Just had a question about the Veterans Day program tomorrow. Will the entire council not be participating on the program as we've done in the past, or is it different this year?
Madam Chair, I'd have to defer to staff. I don't know if Kristen's here or if Ms. Jenkins has some additional information with regards to that.
Thank you, Commissioners. All are invited, and there is a place on the program for remarks or comments from all of the Commissioner Council. Our MC for the morning will be the esteemed Chair, Commissioner Shirley Lanier. But you all will have an opportunity to bring brief greetings.
Okay, so it's different from how we've done it all the other years where we all did something. Yes. Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Have a great night, and those of you that are able to come out to the program tomorrow, please do. And if you're off tomorrow, please get a little bit of rest, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I just also wanted to piggyback off of Mr. Evans in terms of the Winter Wonderland. A part of that Winter Wonderland is also Hanukkah and also Kwanzaa. The 26th will be the first day of Kwanzaa, and it's on a Sunday, and we're having a program from 10 to 3 at the marina for that event. It is in conjunction with the fourth principle of Kwanzaa for cooperative economics, and the tiki market will also be to be set up at that day as well. And then we'll have a drive-through on January 1st, which is the last day of Kwanzaa. And the final word in terms of soliciting a restaurant and restaurant pad and in the garage can move simultaneously on different tracks, and we don't need a master developer to do it. We've been waiting around too long for us to be able to do something with the marina, and I think that regardless of a master developer come in or not, that we can do something to improve the marina and to have a restaurant in that spot. Thank you, and we are adjourned.